Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto changes after Sasuke retrieval Naruhina. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Tobmaster and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. FYI, dates appear as such, June 18th, 015 AK, midday meaning the obvious. The 015 is basically saying that October of that year Naruto is 15. Like all my stories, this takes place close to the end of the training mission with Jiraiya. I do this because they are older, and I hate just redoing the early missions like so many other stories. All of mine are created by me and me alone, so it is a 100% original storyline. Somewhere outside Konoha, June 15th, 015 AK. Sasuke, I have a plan to bring you back this time. You're coming home today. Announced the orange-wearing ninja. I doubt it, loser. You couldn't do it years ago. What makes you sure you can do it now? You're still worthless. You're too slow, and I still haven't even activated my Sharingan yet. This battle has been a joke. Sasuke smirked when he saw his ex-teammate's reaction. Sharingan or not, I will bring you back one way or another. Naruto charges forward but quickly halts when Sasuke grabs his wrist and forces chakra, creating the crackling chirps of his assassination technique. Naruto quickly created a blue sphere in his right hand. Chidori. Rasengan. Naruto's hastily created jutsu was easily defeated by the fully created lightning jutsu. Sasuke pushed the blonde's hand outward as he thrust his hand directly into Naruto's chest cavity, causing immense pain, forcing him to the ground. Just like the time at the Valley of the End, the fox container grabbed for his prisoner's chakra and pulled out absolutely nothing. Goddamn fox! Where the hell are you? He shouted inward, getting only silence in return as he fell to his back. Sasuke stood above him with a large grin on his face, looking at his bloody hand in amusement. Please, Sasuke, don't forget Konoha, they will help you. Just go back there and repair your relations with them, croaked out the pained voice of the fallen leaf Nin. Save it for the other side, moron. Sasuke unsheathed his sword and stuck it straight through his old teammate's heart, killing him instantly. No coming back from that window. Sasuke was elated. He killed his friend, but didn't feel any different. No power came to him as it should have. Sasuke was starting to get pissed until his evil sensei came out to meet him. Good, Sasuke-kun, you've done a wonderful job killing your friend. I bet you're dying to feel your increase in strength. Orochimaru cackled in a voice that makes little boys everywhere cringe and hide. I don't understand, I should feel some sort of power, right? Oh, I'm so sorry, Sasuke-kun. I forgot to mention you needed to feel remorse for it to work. Let me help you. Orochimaru released the curse seal from Sasuke. With it, all the suppressed emotions came forward, revealing the true Sasuke not under the influence of the seal. Sasuke stared at his hands covered in blood and then turned his head to look at the sword sticking out of his friend's body. What the hell have I done? The only person willing to be my friend when I was an ass just died by my hand. How could this have happened? If I really wanted him dead, I wouldn't have saved his sorry ass and wave. Sasuke was battling with his newfound sorrow but kept his face emotionless. Alright, snake bastard, why did you do this to me? Oh, but Sasuke-kun, you know why. You're showing it to me right now. The Mangekyou, my Mangekyou. Before Sasuke could react, Kabuto jumped into view, performing a paralyzing jutsu as Orochimaru prepared his body change jutsu since he needed to transfer quickly before the Uchiha figured out how to use it. Sasuke tried to break free, but it was all pointless since he was completely paralyzed except for his eyes. Then his genius nature struck. His eyes could still move. Focusing on Kabuto's eyes, which were barely in his peripheral, he made a weak illusion, causing him to flinch, breaking the paralysis. The snake Sannin wasn't paying attention to the happenings around him. He only eyed the prize. Right as the jutsu was cast, Sasuke used Kawarmi and managed to switch himself with Kabuto, causing Orochimaru to transfer into the glasses-wearing traitor. No one steals my body, prick. Sasuke spat on the weakened form of Kabuto/Orochimaru. Damn you, brat, where are you? You better not be dead or I'll kill you myself, shouted an irate white-haired toad summoner, known as Jiraiya of the legendary 3, as he landed in the battlefield. Without looking, he slit Kabuto/Orochimaru's throat, sapping the life from the fallen body. Jiraiya saw Sasuke sitting on the ground staring at his hands in front of the two dead sound Nins. Hey traitor, you coming? We're getting out of here when the shrimp wakes up, or would you rather me drag you to Konoha? I'll come willingly, that was his last wish. Jiraiya looked at him strangely until he saw Sasuke's eyes not look at his but past him. He turned around and saw what he missed when he arrived. Lying on the ground was an orange and red mess with a sword still sticking out from his heart. I was still under Orochimaru's curse and I had no idea I was killing one of my only friends until he released the seal. I want to go to Konoha. Hopefully I'll be executed when I arrive. Sasuke stood and started walking toward the village while Jiraiya was forced to clean up the mess and burn the traitors' bodies. He would have burned his students, but he believed some people in the village would want to say goodbye in their own way. Jiraiya summoned a smaller toad to retrieve the personal effects they left behind and bring the items to the Hokage while he wrapped a cloth around his student and carried him to Konoha. If you are thinking of leaving due to Naruto dying, please don't, because there is much more here than that. Look underneath the underneath. Konoha, June 16th, 015 AK, mid-morning. A team of Umbu was seen dashing to the eastern gate of Konoha after getting word of Jiraiya's return. The toad moves fast, arriving shortly after Tsunade, the fifth Hokage, and her apprentice Haruno Sakura, made it to the same location. Strangely enough, the Hokage wasn't the first leaf ninja waiting at the gate. If you were to look closely, behind the nearest tree, you could find a pale-eyed girl on her daily stop waiting to maybe catch a glimpse of her blonde crush if he were to return at that time. 5 minutes passed before the gates opened, revealing the white-haired Sannin, holding an orange bundle, and a dark-haired young man walking towards the open gate. Sakura started to smile as her eyes never left the visage of the dark-haired man, while Hinata felt a hollow sickness swelling inside seeing the orange object being carried and not walking. When the travelers got within the gates, Sakura ran to the Uchiha. "Sasuke-kun!" she screamed, grabbing him into a warm hug, still smiling. "Hi, Sakura." Sasuke replied in a dry tone, trying to be slightly nice but also not to be overly nice. While Sakura ran to her crush, Tsunade was studying Jiraiya and the bundle he carried. She remained emotionless and still when she realized there was no life in the body he carried. Tsunade snapped out of her daze when she heard a voice behind her. "Naruto-kun!" Hinata screamed as she bolted towards them with tears pouring from her eyes, only to be grabbed by the Hokage in a caring hug. "I can't let you see him like this, Hinata. You won't be able to forget that image if you do." Tsunade held the sobbing Hyuga tightly, trying to keep her from going anywhere. Hinata's screaming brought Sakura's attention away from her Sasuke and back to the real world, and finally noticed the orange and red mass in the Sannin's arms. "Sensei, is he really? Are you really my apprentice? Do you think Hinata would be crying like this? He wasn't?" Tsunade voice being quite angry at her apprentice in her moment of idiocy, and uncaring for her teammate. Jiraiya-sama, what happened to him?" Hinata asked while trying to stop herself from crying. "The idiot died giving me the ultimate version of my Sharingan. At least he did something right for a change. At least with me killing him I was able to defeat Orochimaru single-handedly, and I would have killed Kabuto as well if it wasn't for the white-haired oaf cutting in," Sasuke explained while smirking. Although he killed Naruto, he found focusing on his destroying of major traitors could get him to feel a bit better about himself. He was an Uchiha, he could handle deaths with a stone heart, right? Hinata lost her timid nature as she eyed Sasuke. "You killed him?" she asked with a quiet voice. "Yeah, I killed those powerful ninja that couldn't be defeated by either Hokage." "You killed him?" Hinata asked again in a much louder voice, shocking most people that knew her. "You killed my Naruto-kun?" she raged as Sasuke just smirked again. "Oh, you're that girl, the one with that silly crush on the idiot, Hinata, wasn't it? Yeah, it was by my hand that he died. He seemed happy to die just with the hope of getting me to return to keep a promise he made to the one really he cared for, and it definitely wasn't you." Something in Hinata snapped, sending forth something no one ever thought existed in a person, let alone this shy girl. "You dumb, worthless, snake-loving piece of shit. I did not have a crush on him. Then you'll find it easier to get over him then. Good. He was never good enough to have your attention," retorted Sasuke before he was cut off by Hinata as she spoke quietly. "At first, he was everything I wasn't. He was my inspiration when I was brought down, and just thinking of him kept me going. He was like the light in my darkness, giving me strength to persevere. When he was just 12, he was easily twice the man you will ever become. But most of all, he was the love of my life, the only one I felt was worthy of my love. When he was alive I was too timid and shy to tell him, but now I can never tell him because you killed him, you murderer." Hinata, in her rage, charged at Sasuke, breaking away from Tsunade's grasp with her palm visibly glowing with immense amounts of chakra. Her speed alone took the Uchiha by surprise, leaving him open to her supercharged Juken strike, aiming for an instant kill. Just mere feet away from connecting, the Hokage appeared between the two with her own fist glowing. The two chakra-powered attacks contacted each other to cancel each other out, but ended up leaving Tsunade's arm fall limp at her side due to the effects of the Hyuga technique. "Hinata, I can't allow you to kill anyone in that manner inside our village. If it was allowed, you would have needed to beat me to it." Tsunade reached forward and tapped Hinata on the forehead, forcing her into a deep sleep. Tsunade caught her safely in her arms before she hit the ground. "Sakura, take Hinata home. I think she needs some time alone. The rest of you follow me. We're going to have some quality time with Ibiki, somewhere between Fire and Stone Country." June 16, 0:15 AK midday. A small caravan of travelers were heading towards Iwakagir after visiting a nearby village. During their journey they came across a pale-looking person lying at the side of the trail. "Father." "Yes, Santan, what is it?" "There is someone lying on the edge of the road ahead. He looks bad. I don't think he has eaten in a month. We should help," replied the young man of about 15 or 16. "Tsuchikage-sama, we really shouldn't take any chances. He could be an assassin just waiting for his time to strike. We should eliminate this potential threat immediately," voiced the guard as he pulled out a katana and ran ahead of the caravan going for his kill. "Stop," commanded the elder man. "Tsuchikage-sama, leave him be. Can't you tell he has very little chakra capacity? There is no way this person could be a threat. He should barely even be able to live a day without food. Tangray," he called to his guard, "we will take him with us to the village hospital. There we may be able to tell if a new jutsu exists that caused his extremely low chakra capacity." Tangray was irritated that a potential threat would be brought with them. "But you don't disobey a Kage," Reluctantly he picked up the unconscious form of the stranger, and brought him to the carriage to bring him back to the village. Konoha, Hokage's office, June 17, 0:15 AK midday. Tsunade was looking out her office window staring at the faces of the previous Hokage's damn brat. Your face should have joined mine up there next. I will stay in the village to keep your friends safe like you would have. If it wasn't for your friends I would have left already. She was snapped out of her thoughts by one of her umbu. Hokage-sama, everyone is here that you have requested. Very well, send them in. What was left of the original Leaf Genins and their senseis filed into the office, including Irika and Konohamaru's group. Surprisingly, even Kakashi managed to arrive on time. I'm sure you all know the reason why I have asked you here. We need to arrange a service for him. But sensei, aren't those preparations arranged by the council? All ninja killed in the line of duty gets a hero's service and name inscribed on the monument stone, right? Inquired Sakura. Usually that is correct, but the council has refused to acknowledge his existence as a ninja, replied the busted blonde. But why? Hinata asked with her always present tears running down her face. He has been shunned by most of the village and has been hated by most due to his secret that was kept from everyone his age and younger by order of the Sandaime. If anyone was to speak of this information could be tried for treason and executed. Since he is gone there is nothing to protect, so they do what they please. What could be so bad that Naruto-kun deserved that? He should be recognized by the village. It was never about what he did, but what was done to him. The whole group stared at the lazy Chunin after his statement. I've been working on a theory since the Chunin exams. He displayed more strength than he has shown before, and should not have been able to do many of those things. From all of my calculations, Niji should have been able to beat all opponents, but he lost to him even after getting all his chakra blocked off. There is only one logical explanation, and that is he had another source of chakra. Once I came upon that I figured that the only way to achieve a second chakra source was by sealing something within him. That is as far as I've been able to get. I don't know what was sealed in him granting him that power. Tsunade was shocked along with the rest of the older generation. They knew he was smart, but this proved he was a genius. It looked like a fox. The crowd turned their attention to Niji, and stared at him waiting for him to explain. When he called forth that power I saw the form of a fox head residing within his chakra, therefore it was a fox sealed in him. A fox? That doesn't make any sense? Complained Tenten. It makes complete sense. All the looks he got, and all those things said about him. They all make sense. How does it make sense? How do you know Hinata? Asked Kiba. Well, it's not like I followed him or anything. Most in attendance looked at her like she was crazy. I think he held Kyubi. Now they really thought she was insane. But the Kyubi was killed by the Yondaime, right, Irika-sensei? Asked the pink-haired know-it-all. Did the books ever say he killed it, or just defeated it? So Naruto was the Kyubi? Asked Ino, being the blonde she is. Damn it, Ino! That is why he was hated by the village, because they thought as stupidly as you. Naruto-kun kept the demon away from the village by containing him. He couldn't be a demon with how kind his blue eyes were. It was probably because of that whole reasoning that he never shared that with us. Hinata felt everyone staring at her again and tried to hide herself again. How much did this girl care for him? She never even flinched hearing about the demon. I'd definitely take the odds that she loved him, and not just a normal love. She may have been the only one perfectly suited to him. Tsunade contemplated this but needed to hurry to get things done. You are right with everything, Hinata. The Kyubi no Kitsune was sealed into Naruto by the Yondaime Hokage, but we still don't know why he specifically chose Naruto, since there were 3 other children that could have taken that burden. Although I'd love to keep talking like this, we still have to plan a funeral. Everyone's attitudes changed again, having to face that fact, and Hinata had to struggle to hold back her emotions from getting out of control. We will have the service for Naruto at 3 p.m. by the memorial stone. Unfortunately, we can't place his name on the stone, but that doesn't stop us from making our own. Since the memorial stone is protected by a jutsu, the other one I have would be protected as well. Afterwards we will have the burning of his body, but I suggest no one stay for that since it may cause too much pain. No, squeaked an almost inaudible voice coming from the direction of the heiress. Did you say something, Hinata? Asked Tsunade. Yes, she replied while nervously looking at her feet. He shouldn't have his body burned. What do you mean by that? All ninja are burned. It is the most honorable since we don't have the room for cemeteries in a ninja village. Are you saying he shouldn't be honored? Was Kurenai's reaction. No, I know of a way to give him even more honor than that. And how is that, Hinata? I know you cared for him, but what could you do that we can't? Questioned the Hokage. Well, he could be treated the way I wanted him to be. It is very embarrassing for me to suggest, but I want him to be placed in the Hyuga tomb as if he was unlike you know. No, I don't follow you there, said Tsunade. She wasn't trying to be mean, she just needed her to openly confess what she wanted so she could start the healing process. Of course Hinata was bright red and stuttering in embarrassment, but she refused to clam up and run away. I wasn't able to tell him how much I cared for him, but I can't deny him being treated with love the way he should always have been. He should be treated as the husband of a Hyuga heiress. That is what my wish is, but I'll have to sneak his body into the tomb after everyone is asleep since father definitely won't approve. I'm sorry, Hinata-sama, but I can allow you to sneak his body into the tomb. Hinata was about to go off on his smirking ass before he added, you'll need my help with that. Hinata managed a small smile after that small suggestion. Fine Hinata, you can have your wish, I won't stop you, just be careful, we don't want you to get caught. Furthermore, we will need something to burn in his place to make it appear to anyone snooping around that he was burned. I'll take care of that. Kakashi announced, still keeping his face as emotionless as possible. Alright, the last thing we have to take care of is a journal Naruto kept since he was 5. Tsunade smiled to herself, seeing a look on Hinata that screamed gimme. He stated in the journal that if he was to die, it was to go to the person that cared for him the most. This is yours, Hinata. Hinata felt bittersweet when she got the book. She was now going to see his inner self, but he wasn't around anymore either. You all can go now until tomorrow. The entire room quickly evacuated, leaving only Jiraiya and Tsunade in the office. How could he do this, Jiraiya? He was so close to getting everything he wanted, but he threw it all away for a stupid promise. As far as I'm concerned, I don't ever want to see that necklace of his again. Actually, I never found the necklace, it's gone. Good riddance to bad rubbish, it saves me the time. Jiraiya noticed Tsunade could use some time alone and quickly disappeared. IWA Hospital, June 18th, 0:15 AK midday. My head groaned, a patient stuck in a sterile-smelling white-walled room. Damn, I hate hospitals, he thought before deciding to get someone's attention. Hello? Anyone here? Where the hell am I? I see you're awake. The patient looked to the voice and saw a decent-looking female of about 16 years old. She was dressed in maroon scrubs with her black hair tied into a ponytail, but some of those details went unnoticed by the patient. And who are you? He asked. I'll ask you the same question. You can just call me Doc. Okay, Doc, you can call me I guess it is Rantu. He told her while still having a thinking look on his face. Do you have a family name or is it just Rantu? I don't know. How about where you're from? Okay, well I'm from shit I don't know. I can't remember anything but my name and some other weird stuff. So then what is this other stuff then? Doc asked with curiosity. Well, it's something to do with fighting, like something called jutsus. Really? Jutsus are ninja techniques. If you have knowledge of them you might be a ninja. That would explain why you have a headband, but the plate is completely blank. Okay, cool I guess. Since there isn't a mirror nearby, can you try to describe what I look like? I guess I can try. Doc was surprised. Usually people with amnesia know what they look like, but apparently he doesn't. Well, your hair is a lifeless tan, your eyes look gray, almost silver. Your face is quite handsome. I'm sure you had quite the following by the ladies wherever you were from. Are you sure you don't have a girlfriend? She asked with a sly smile. I wish I knew the answer to that, but I can't remember anything. His face looked downward, clearly saddened at not remembering. This sucks. Do you think you could hand me that white pillow over there? I'm a bit uncomfortable. Doc looked at him strangely. You mean this light blue one? She asked. No, that white one, the one I'm pointing to. Doc looked at him again and got an idea. Oh, no problem, just one thing. What color is my shirt? Rantu looked at her strangely. I mean, who would know what color their shirt was? I'm sure, I guess it's gray. He noticed her face changed and he knew something else was up. It is gray, right? Actually no, it's maroon. What? Are you telling me that not only can I not remember who I am, but I can't see color either? Damn this all to hell. Please calm down, Rantu, screaming won't help you any. At least we have yet another thing to go on. Not many people can see only black and white. Try to get a little more sleep, and I'll bring you some food later. Doc left the room after dimming the lights a bit so he could sleep. Rantu thought for a while, but with an empty mind he got bored quickly and fell off into a dreamless sleep. Later, Konoha, June 18th, 0:15 AK mid-afternoon. The village seemed to be in unusually high spirits after the announcement that a certain person has died, and their praised Uchiha had returned. Everyone around seemed to be happy and the town was bustling, but it wasn't so cheery in a certain area. Everyone that was touched by the blonde-haired hyperactive ninja was there for the funeral of Uzumaki Naruto. Gaara and his sibs, the Konohamaru Corps. Look guys, I didn't forget him this time around. The usual friends and senseis, the Hokage, and even Tuchi and Ayam were there from the ramen shop. Surprisingly, even Sasuke was in attendance, with an Umbu team watching him. Everyone was dressed normally except for one who dressed for the occasion. She had her dark blue hair flowing freely down a dark gray kimono with black glistening raindrops printed on the material with a black bow tying her together around the waist. When the sun hit her kimono correctly, you could swear that it too was crying like the wearer. The service went like any service would, friends sharing moments they had trying to hide the sadness of losing someone so close. Sasuke felt very uncomfortable at the funeral, even though everyone knew his mind was being manipulated by the curse seal. That didn't stop hateful glares sent in his direction from one girl. The service lasted 20 minutes before the placement of the new Naruto stone was finished. No one said a thing as the crowd silently started to disperse. As strange as it was, Sasuke left first comforting a crying Sakura. Only about 2 minutes passed when Konohamaru and his small crew left with Iruka, followed by the rest moments later, leaving only Kakashi and Hinata staring at the new memorial stone in silence. Kakashi walked up to Naruto's body and pulled out a little orange book, which disgusted Hinata since she knew what the book was and was about to rip his head off until he spoke to her without looking away from the motionless body. He always hated these books. After spending so much time with Jiraiya I thought that would change, but it was never in his nature to think in that manner. Kakashi picked up Naruto's body and set him down beside where he was to be burned and pulled out another orange book. You know, I started to read these books when I lost my teammates on a mission to hide my sadness, but I don't think they work very well. I know that a book can help me now that I lost one of my students for good. Kakashi threw the 2 books down and pulled out another followed by another. A few minutes later there were 37 books with only 17 being paradise novels. The rest were considered collectibles of Jiraiya's earlier works. At least my books will have a good purpose. Kakashi picked up the body and poofed away as the pile burst into flames, leaving Hinata alone. Now that she was alone, she felt she could let out all her emotions. Falling to her knees, she stared at the new stone as tears blurred her vision as she read the message again. In remembrance of Uzumaki Naruto, our Hokage who never was, you will truly be missed. Naruto-kun, she closed her eyes with streams of tears flowing down her face. I will love you forever. She was spent emotionally and physically from her all-night crying previously, and she collapsed by the stone in a fitful sleep. Hinata found herself being woken up at 10 p.m. by Niji, after sleeping for 5 hours. In the next 4 hours Hinata couldn't fully grasp everything as it flew by in a blur. Hinata ran home to throw off her father, and to put everything down as usual so things could progress correctly. Hinata sternly addressed Hayashi. Yes, father? Where were you? You should have been home 30 minutes ago. Sorry, father, I was out but fell asleep after training. Don't you dare lie to me. You have never been able to get one by me, so why try? You were at that stupid funeral for that kid you had eyes for, correct? Hinata was surprised at his knowledge of her feelings that she could hardly speak. Sorry, father. She muttered out quietly. That is of no consequence now. Since his death the clan is safe from demon blood tainting ours. We were concerned you might choose him, and as a member of the main branch we couldn't stop your choice since you had full reign on that subject until your 18th birthday. Father, he was never a demon, he was a hero. She told him after getting her voice back. Enough of your insolence. We will speak of this no further, understood? Yes, father. If that is all, I'd like to retire to my room for the night. Fine, go. Hinata scurried off to her room while Hayashi retired to his chambers as well. Hinata shut her door and looked to her desk at the journal lying there. How could anyone hate you for keeping the demon away from us all for so long? Even with such a huge burden you managed to keep a happy face on just to keep us all in high spirits, while you felt the opposite under that happiness mask. You once dropped your mask to me when we talked before the Chunin finals, and that was the moment my feelings for you deepened so much. I always admired your courage and I loved looking at those eyes, but it was when I saw how close your feelings were to my own that I saw how strong you really were. To overcome those feelings was something I couldn't do for but a few minutes, but you held it up every day of your life. I wanted that strength. That's what made me admire you the most. Hinata was pulled from her thoughts when she heard a light knock at her door. When she opened it, there stood Niji. Niji and I-san, aren't you early? It's nearly midnight. When you didn't show up I came to find you. Gasping, Hinata set the book she was hugging back on the desk and searched for her clothes. She shoved Niji out of her room and changed in record time and jumped out the window to start her mission. The operation was a complete success. Everyone in the manor was asleep except for a few guards which Niji occupied masterfully. It only took an additional 5 minutes before the package was safely tucked away in the Hyuga tomb. Hinata said a small prayer and covered his body with a white sheet. This tomb has weird preserving qualities stopping all decay, and it is also believed that if you remove a sheet and look upon the dead you would go insane. Hinata's words calmed Niji's apprehensive looks. Seeing that they were done with their mission they both took off in their own directions in haste. Upon returning to her room, Hinata fell into a peaceful sleep and immediately started to dream after her slightly illegal activity. Hinata's dream. Glistening pale lavender eyes stared into deep blue ones, but no words needed to be said, they were only felt. Their faces drew closer ever so slowly until their lips pressed against each other's, drawing in the warmth and love of each other. Reluctantly pulling away he spoke to her. Hinata-chan, I love you. Tears of happiness filled her pupilless eyes. I love you too, Naruto-kun, more than you can possibly imagine. Care to test that? I have a great imagination. His smile made her melt. Nothing will ever change my feelings for you, my love. If that is true, then will you marry? He never managed to finish as his voice ended and he started to disappear. His blue eyes lost their color as they faded into a gray as his blonde hair lost its life and got the color sucked out of it, leaving it a weird tan color. His face also changed as the whisker marks disappeared completely. Suddenly he disappeared altogether, replaced by a burning sensation in her eyes. Hinata woke from her dream and blinked, trying to ease the burning feeling from the sun shining on them. Her tears started to flow when she saw the journal of the desk again, signifying that he was indeed dead. I could never finish that dream. The only way that could happen was with you, but now I won't ever be able to. How do you expect me to live without you? Hinata got up and did her usual morning routines and took off to the closest training ground to train away her sorrows. Back at IWA Hospital, June 19th, 0:15 AK morning. Doc, come quick. Something weird has happened to Rantu, shouted a young nurse. What do you want? I was trying to sleep off some of my double shift from last night. Well, it seems that Rantu-san has increased chakra production by more than double what it was when he came in, and it seems to be accelerating. If it keeps up, he'll be Jonin level in about 2 months. It is almost like his body is filling in a hidden void of chakra to compensate for his weakened state. That really is unexpected. At this rate he could leave tomorrow. I'll have to ask the Kage what we should do with him. I've already informed him of his amnesia and color blindness. Being the person he is, he may take him in since he really likes those charity cases. Warning: some serious jumping around will occur as Hinata starts to read the journal, and some things may be hard to read with all the line breaks, so bear with me. Some details in the journal influences changes in the past from the anime/manga. Years in the journal will appear as 000 AK, where 000 is the year of the QB attack. This is just a reminder. Also ignore spelling errors in the journal passages. They are deliberate. Hinata tried to do her training but realized she couldn't focus due to her constant tearing up and decided she could read some of the journal instead if all she was going to do is cry. Hinata locked herself in her room and opened the journal to the first page and smiled happily at the horrible writing inside, the handwriting. But the contents could be bad as well. October 10th 006 AK. I be 6 old now. I get a visit from an old guy, and he gave me this book and said I need write in it. I don't like writing, it is stupid, I write no more. October 10th 007 AK. Old man helped me with writing so I can at least make something look good. The old man told me he was the Hokage. But I still don't know what that is. But everyone is nice to him, so I'm going to be Hokage too. Yesterday some of the people that used to hit me in the orphanage just disappeared and old man told me I was moving to somewhere else. I realize now I like being in the sun, it's nice and warm. I never been allowed outside before, I like it. Hinata started crying again seeing how badly he was treated at such a young age. He was beaten and never allowed to feel the sun in 7 years. But she felt a little better knowing that the caretakers that disappeared were killed off by the Hokage when he found how they treated him and took him out of the orphanage to live on his own. August 20th 008 AK. Note: although it is 008, he is still 7 due to how years work, just remember that. Well, I still think writing in this thing sucks, but I have nothing better to do since I can't sleep because tomorrow I start Ninja Academy. I'm hoping I can find some friends there so I have someone to talk to. This apartment is small, but it will do. It is much better than that orphanage anyways. August 21st 008 AK. Well, my first day of school sucked. Irika-sensei was mad because I was late, but I'm sure I wasn't because only half of the students were actually there. I didn't like any of my senseis, they all looked at me weirdly, and it made me feel sick inside for some reason. All the other kids looked at me slightly different, but they were mostly all the same. I even got tripped by that dark-haired pretty boy when I tried to take a seat. When I hit the ground it hurt so bad. Everyone laughed at me and made fun of me when I started crying, and I was kept from going to recess later because I was disrupting the class with all the laughing. I then realized that if I was already laughing then they couldn't laugh at me and I'd never show them my feelings, my loneliness, my sadness. I'll just smile and hide it all. So that is why you started wearing that happy mask. I didn't like those fake smiles. But I always seemed to get real ones. Did you actually like me after all? Hinata thought before continuing to read. August 27th 008 AK. I did it. I finally figured out how to not be hurt by them anymore. I accidentally spilled paint on Irika-sensei's chair and he sat in it before I could tell him. You should have seen his face when he saw his butt was purple. This time when everyone laughed, it wasn't me they were laughing at. I figure if I could make more of these pranks I would never be laughed at again. Now what should I do next? August 31st 008 AK. There was talk today of getting a new student next week. What better way to welcome him than with a good prank? Especially since he is from that stuck-up white-eyed clan that always threw stuff at me while looking at me with those ugly eyes of theirs. I hate their eyes. Well, there went that previous thought, he hated my eyes. But my stupid family caused it. September 2nd 008 AK. Today started out perfectly. I had my prank all set up just waiting for the new student to arrive. I was so excited. Irika-sensei introduced him as Hyuga Hinata and I just laughed my ass off since he had such a girly name. I stopped laughing when he was presented to the class. And he was a she. Her head was down looking at her feet so I couldn't see her face. She walked by me to get to her seat and she looked up at me. I expected those ugly freaky eyes, but they weren't there. She had kind gentle eyes. The kindness in those eyes made me feel happy and I was able to give her a real smile and not my fake one. What was weird is she turned red and ran off to her seat like she was scared of me. It kind of irritated me, but I couldn't execute my prank on those nice eyes. I think I might have even seen her before. Although I didn't go through with it, I could let good paint go to waste and I managed to make Sakura happy now that her hair matched Sasuke's jacket. I think Sakura is cute when she is happy. I think I like her. Well, back to square one. I know I should just let it go, but I want to know every part of him. I owe it to him. Hinata closed the journal since she lost the will to read after seeing how soon her crush liked the pink-haired girl and decided to go try her training again. IWA Hospital, June 19th, 0:15 AK midday. Ah man, how many times do I have to wake up in a hospital? Gah! Yelled Rantu. Well, not any longer if you so desire. Came an aged voice. And who are you? I just happen to be the person that Tsuchikage ordered to bring you here. So then Rantu-san, I was told to extend to you an invitation to Tsuchikage-sama's house. Oh, and you can call me Sanioto. There should be some clothes about your size in the cabinet. I'll be waiting for you outside when you finish. Sanioto left without another word, leaving Rantu to ponder his words. He just shrugged off the feeling that the invitation was non-negotiable since he wanted out of the hospital. For some unknown reason he hated hospitals and wanted out. He threw on some black cargo pants and a gray-sleeved t-shirt, and rushed out the door to meet back up with Sanyoto. That was fast, how about we go then? Sanyoto never waited for acknowledgement, and just headed into town. Rantu just shrugged and followed. The village was quite strange to him, the size seemed awkward, most of the area was shops and stores. With all the villagers filling the streets there was no way they could all live there. It just doesn't make sense to not have housing for all those people. It was impossible for them all to live in this space. Rantu decided he could contemplate that later since they seemed to be heading straight to a small building at the base of a mountain outcropping. Say Sanyoto-san, when are we getting to our destination? I'm getting quite tired. He asked, trying to catch his breath from the short walk. We'll be there in a few moments. The building up there is the entrance. The entrance? Yes, the entrance. Haven't you noticed the absence of living space in the village? Rantu nodded and he continued. Since most ninja here are earth element users, we found it much easier to create our homes underground. This way we can keep the village smaller, and therefore we can protect it easier. He led Rantu through the massive steel-reinforced oak doors and down into a long dark tunnel, before reaching another set of doors smaller than the first but still large. They stepped through and Rantu looked around in awe. It looked like a small world under the ground. The mansion stood in the center of the open area with a fake sun illuminating the grounds. So kid, you like it? Well, it definitely is a sight to behold, I'll admit that much. Whatever, let's get going, we don't want to keep him waiting. They entered the large manor and maneuvered through the long maze of halls. Each hall had a different look to it so you wouldn't get lost once you figured it out. They eventually ended up at a large dining hall where they met an older guy, probably in his mid-50s. He had a rough-looking face with graying brown hair and was dressed in traditional kage robes. Rantu, how are you feeling? It is quite the walk for someone still in your condition. The man asked. It was quite a tiring ordeal, but who, may I ask, are you? Rantu responded. I thought it would be obvious with these robes. Indeed it was, but I prefer hearing it straight from the one in question as to not jump to conclusions prematurely. Quite the vocabulary you have there, my boy. You certainly are full of surprises. Dinner will be served in about 4 hours, you can rest up a bit before then. There is a room 4 doors down the hall on the right. I'll send for you when it is ready, as you wished, Sachikage-sama. Rantu turned away from them and decided to get some much-needed rest. Once he was out of range of hearing, Sanyoto turned to his leader. What do you see in this one? He has abnormally low stamina and an overly smart mouth. The Sachikage laughed at Sanyoto's observation. Oh, come now, he could have had a high-class upbringing to account for his vocabulary. But to answer your question, did you see how quickly he recovered from the long walk? He was panting heavily after the walk, but after stopping for a few seconds he was rested. Furthermore, according to the doctors, his chakra capacity is increasing unusually fast. If he continues at that rate he will have Jonin-level capacity in 3 months or less. That is unreal. Do you know where he came from? No, we have no idea, and neither does he. Our mental experts believe he will never gain back memories. It looks like parts of his mind just don't exist. I believe with his memory gone, most likely forever, he should be trained as a ninja for our village under your supervision. Where will he be staying during all this? He will be staying here until he finds a reason to leave. If in 3 months' time he doesn't gain any memories and shows he is trustworthy, I will adopt him myself and let him have all the privileges that come with it. Is that really wise? We have no idea what he is capable of. I can't say that there isn't risks involved here, but I sense a great kindness only found in some of the greatest heroes. If we can tap that resource, it will benefit everyone and not only just our village. Besides, I hope he can rub off a little on my son. I suppose you may have something there. I will retire now and prepare some testing and training for him. Tell him to come by the dojo after breakfast tomorrow. Sanyoto left to his room to gather and prepare for the upcoming day. Konoha, June 19th, 0:15 AK evening. Hinata put her emotions into training and found herself extremely tired and went home to sleep. Even though she was physically wasted, she just couldn't get to sleep and just kept eyeing the journal. Now, well into the night, she gave into her curiosity and opened to where she left off. September 20th, 008 AK. Well, life hasn't been too eventful. I pulled off 5 more pranks but won't go into detail, so there's no proof that I did them. I decided I should try and talk to the new girl, Hinata. There is something about her that makes me want to know her better, but she still seems to look away from me and hide behind the closest object, usually a tree or something. I guess she is just too shy and weird, but I'll try again later. I did manage to talk to Sakura though, but her fist was the one talking back. I failed another test today, they seem way too hard. I can't even find anything about the questions in any of the books we have. Maybe I just am stupid like everyone says. If I'm going to fail anyways, I may as well sleep. October 10th-008 AK. Well, I'm 8 years old today, but like every year I'm staying inside to avoid the villagers since they are always more violent on this day. I usually would sleep all day, but I feel like doing something, so I guess I'll write. A couple days ago I was walking back from academy and I saw Sakura and Ino picking flowers in a field and giggling about something. I decided to see what they were doing and walked up to the girls. They just took one look at me and yelled at me to go away and threatened to hit me if I didn't. I turned around quickly and ran into something. What I saw was Hinata standing there with an outstretched hand with nothing in it. She looked at her hand and looked at something on the ground, but I couldn't look away from her eyes to see what she was looking at. They were just so comforting to look into. Suddenly I saw tears flowing out of her eyes. I tried to smile to cheer her up, but it just made it worse and she ran away crying. Like usual, Sakura and Ino saw a crying girl run away from me and thought I hurt her and began to beat me senseless. Before knocking me out, they told me if I ever came anywhere near Hinata I'd regret it. I really just wanted to be her friend since she seemed very lonely. But to avoid another beating like that, I'll ignore her and try to be nice to Sakura. I'm sorry for running away, I was just trying to give you a flower. But I thought you knocked it away from me on purpose and then smiled like nothing happened. I guess it really was my fault you ignored me. Hinata closed the book and found it much easier this time to fall straight to sleep even with the tears in her eyes. Later, yesterday after Rantu found his room he decided on a shower and a short nap since he was feeling quite tired. Only moments later after lying down on the soft mattress, he lost himself in another dreamless sleep. No memories, no dreams, right? This morning he was startled from his sleep by a knocking at his door. What the oh, come in. He called to the person knocking. The slender man, in his 40s, opened the door and entered the room looking him up and down like he was analyzing him, although he was still lying in bed. Yes, what can I do for you? Oh, my humble apologies, Rantu-sama, I guess I just got sidetracked. Your presence is requested in the dining hall. I'll be right there. But why are you calling me, Sama? Well, it seemed right to do so. The man quickly retreated so he couldn't spill anything else regarding his possible adoption. That guy was weird. Rantu shrugged it off and attempted to get out of bed with the effort it took him yesterday. He doesn't know he slept all night yet, still thinks it's a nap, but found a slight problem. When he did that he found himself flying head first into the ceiling from trying to stand. Maybe I'm just a little too energetic right now, he reasoned. After getting dressed again and cleaned up, not without a couple bruises and an uncontrolled punch to the face, he proceeded to the dining hall. He is still gaining large amounts of chakra while asleep, so his strength is increasing as more chakra ends up going to his limbs. Upon entering he was in awe at the spread, laid out on the table. Everything you could imagine to have for breakfast was there, but that really struck Rantu as weird. Is there something the matter, my boy? Asked Sasuke, seeing the look on his face. Well, it seems unusual to have breakfast items for an afternoon meal. The older man's face crept into a smile before he started into a robust laughter. Well, you see, my boy, when we went to wake you, you were so deep in sleep that nothing shy of a fire started on your face would have woken you, so we let you sleep. It is indeed morning, so please sit down and enjoy some food. Oh, and this is my son Santen. Gestured to the young man next to him. Thank you for your hospitality, Sasuke-sama. Santen-san, he replied with a bow before taking a seat at the table. There is no need for such formalities in this house, my boy. Feel free to call me Kenji. Thank you, Kenji-sama. Well, I suppose it's a start. Go ahead and help yourself to anything you like. We still have much to talk about. They were hoping to talk while eating, but the two were speechless when Rantu dished up a double helping of just about everything and started to eat at an astonishing pace. It only took a few minutes for him to polish off what he took and sat back in his chair satisfied and relaxed. Kenji had to mentally slap himself to get over his shock at his overly exuberant eating. Well then, my boy, I guess we can continue with introductions, the usual likes and dislikes we ninja tend to ask. I'll start out. My interests only include my role as Kage since I have little else to spend time on. I have changed the ways of this village after the last Kage that started the last ninja war and am now allied with nearly every nation. I like helping all the people I can, and I dislike dealing with arrogant leaders and dignitaries. Lastly, I hope my son can find happiness in marriage to rid him of his lecherous ways. Your next Santen. The young brown-haired, pale blue-eyed teen smoothed out his bandana, which contained his symbol for the village, like he was showing off his coolness. Well, my interests are mainly women. I dislike fat ugly women, and my dream is to be with a lot of women. A real bastard, isn't he? As you can see, my son is a bit of a ladies' man. He just needs some Courvoisier cognac and a fro and he be Leon Phelps, yeah. But I hope someday one of his ladies can calm him into settling down. Your next, my boy. Well, I can't tell much since I have no memories, but I almost feel there is something missing when I think of stuff. I get shadows of where people should be, but it was like they were completely removed. Oh, and better yet, breakfast could have been purple and I wouldn't have been able to tell since I can't see any color. Well, thank you for sharing, that is quite interesting. Well, I have to go off and do my duties for the village, and I'm sure Santen is due for a mission, so I ask that you go to the dojo and meet up with Sanioto. I've requested that he test you in the ninja arts to see where you can fit into society. That sounds satisfactory, Kenji-sama. I don't have much else to do today now, do I? Very well, my boy, we will talk again at the evening meal about what you've learned. When you are ready, ask any of the workers to direct you to the dojo. After that was said, Kenji and Santen excused themselves and disappeared into the halls. Rantu didn't think about it much before finding the closest person to lead him to the dojo. There was nothing special about the dojo when he found himself there. There were targets to one side, practice dummies on the other, and the walls were lined with various weapons. Rantu walked to the center of the dojo and bowed to Sanioto, who was waiting there for him. Sanyoto-sensei, I'm here for whatever you have planned. Very good. Rantu bows to him in similar fashion. For a ninja village like this one, the most useful and interesting occupation is of course that of a ninja. Because of that, I will be testing you in various techniques to see if you hold any potential for this occupation. Any questions? Seeing a negative gesture, Sanyoto handed him a set of kunai. Alright, take these kunai and attempt to get them close to any of those 3 targets. Rantu felt his body go on autopilot as he picked up 3 kunai and looked at them strangely before chucking all 3 at once, striking each target dead center like it was second nature. Sanyoto's eyes widened in surprise, since only some of the greatest of their genin were capable of that task. Ahimam, well, I guess we don't need to test you anymore. You were clearly a ninja at some point. But there is something about you that makes no sense. Your level of chakra is too low for any real powerful jutsus, but it will be rising quickly with training. Well, that's good. I hope by doing this I can remember where I learned this stuff. It just feels like I've always been able to do some of these things. I hate having no memories. Yeah, that must suck, but I would like to see what else you might be able to do, if that's okay, of course. Yeah, sure, whatever. I need to find out about myself, so let's go. Alright, this is only a test with hand-to-hand combat. It will only last a few seconds so we don't get tired out before we get into the good stuff. Sanyoto got into a fighting stance as Rantu just lazily stood there. Well, he doesn't have a stance, but he has that look. I wonder if that is his stance. He slowly threw out a punch so his student was sure to see it, and as predicted it was caught. But he was caught off guard when Rantu twisted the wrist and charged an elbow towards his abdomen as a distraction, while his other fist came underneath his guard, making full contact with his sternum. I've seen enough, Sanyoto called out after the quick altercation. You seem to have a knack of unpredictability in your technique. Very strange but effective. Obviously you have stamina issues since you are panting after such a brief spar. After a brief rest we will see how you are with chakra techniques. Rantu got a good few minutes of rest and was able to overcome his slight fatigue from the fight easily. Okay, now since you rested up a bit we can try out some jutsu. Rantu still couldn't figure it out, but just the thought of learning a new jutsu excited him, which didn't get by his sensei. Let's try an easy earth jutsu, just follow what I do. Sanyoto ran through 3 hand signs and placed his palms to the ground. Earth displacement. The ground lightly shook as a few small rocks jumped upwards from the ground. There, now it's your turn. Rantu mimicked his motions perfectly, but when he placed his palm to the ground he got a small dust cloud and nothing else. That was strange. You did it perfectly, but your chakra failed to convert to the proper element, which brings me to an idea. Wait here, I need to go get something. Sanyoto disappears and returns a few minutes later holding a small piece of paper. Here, take this piece of paper and channel chakra into it. It is sensitive to elemental chakra and will reveal to us which way your chakra leans. If it gets sliced in half it is wind, burns its fire, crinkles its lightning, turns to dust its earth, and if it get wet it's water. Just give it a go. I have a feeling I know what your element is. Rantu channeled his chakra into the paper, and it resulted in being shredded into confetti and swirled around the dojo. Well, I did expect the wind element, but I've never seen the concentration of it. This is unreal. I believe you may only have wind element chakra, not chakra that leans towards wind. It is rare to have a wind element user, but rarer still is to have only one element, an element master. I believe you may be a wind master, as we call them. There has only been one in history and that was centuries ago, so I would be honored if you would allow me to continue training you for the next year as a ninja for our village. Sanyoto proposed. That is an interesting proposal, but if I may put some stipulations on this I will take you up on it. First, if I get any leads on my memories I am allowed to follow up on them, and second I will not be required to pledge full allegiance with this village. Okay, I can understand the first request, but I can't authorize the second. Why wouldn't you pledge loyalty to our village if we are willing to invest considerable time and money into your training? Well, I figured if I already belonged to a village before I lost my memories, then by pledging loyalty to this one would be seen as treason and I wouldn't be allowed to return there. I think it would be better if I was just a ninja for hire based in this village for now. Well, I can see your reasoning in that. I will have to talk to Kenji-sama to see if we are allowed to do that. We'll talk to him about it at the evening meal. Until then I think you should try some sleep again. It may have been only about an hour we've been here, but you seem wasted again. Rantu silently agreed and walked back to his room and fell straight to sleep when he face planted on the bed. Konoha, June 20th, 0:15 AK, midday. Alright Hinata, I think we should stop now. It was a good spar. Called out Kiba as he was sitting on the ground, panting, next to an equally wasted dog. No, Kiba-kun, let's keep going, I'm not quite tired yet. She replied while getting back into a ready stance. Sorry, but I wasn't saying this for your health. I'm wasted. You kicked my ass today? I don't know what has gotten into you, but I can't keep up. Let's go, Akamaru. With Kiba no longer willing to train with her, she decided to return to her room since she couldn't train by herself yet without crying. Hinata drug herself into her room and after a quick shower she locked the door as to not be interrupted and opened the journal. March 5th, 009 AK. More months of Suki school went by about the same as it did for the last ones. Sakura hit me many times, I played a few more pranks and had to try really hard to avoid Hinata with that threat hanging around. But she is just so nice, I don't think I can avoid her forever, but I don't think I'd really want to. Well, anyways, we had another one of those impossible tests today, but I decided to write down the question this time. A shinobi falling at -4 meters per second lands on a foam pit, and comes to rest compressing the pit 0.4 m. If the pit is able to exert an average force of 1200 N on the shinobi when breaking the fall, then what is his mass? Now I have no clue what that is talking about, and all I could put on the paper for an answer was what was the shinobi's name, and did he use a jutsu while falling. If these are the questions used for being a shinobi, then I'm tempted to quit, but I will never give up. June 10th, 009 AK. Classes are over for a while, but I don't feel any smarter for being in school for a year. Maybe I am dumb. Today old man Hokage came by and asked to read my journal. By the time he got to the end, he seemed very unhappy and said something about the academy and stormed out of my apartment. I wonder if I wrote something I shouldn't have. Maybe I'll just stop writing. October 10th, 009 AK. I still haven't figured out why the villagers still hate me. I haven't really done anything to them, but they sure do things to me. Well, I'm 9 now, but still alone for my birthday. Old man would come to see me, but I know he needs to keep the ninja in line at the festival. I have been completely successful in avoiding Hinata. It hurts to ignore someone so gentle, but I think it will hurt more if I get beaten again. October 10th, 010 AK. Well, I'm 10 now and another worthless year has gone by since the last time I wrote. This year at Academy went a lot better than the previous years, and I've found some kids that tolerate me now. If I need help with a prank, Kiba is there to help, and his little puppy is a riot. If I just want to relax and not talk, the cloud watching Shikamaru is there, but I think he is too lazy to care who joins him as long as he doesn't have to talk. I could probably call them friends, but it doesn't quite seem that way to me. October 10th, 011 AK. 11 years old, started my 3rd year at Academy. The villagers have seemed to be a little less upfront about hating me, but they just settled for those evil glares. This year we are focusing on fighting techniques and jutsus instead of all the boring history and theories. I found that most everyone knew basic taijutsu and weapon throwing, and some even know ninjutsu. I am so far behind in all those areas that I will need a lot of practice. I have also found that the girls around have been getting more attractive this year. Sakura and Ino started fighting over who sits next to that stuck-up Uchiha. I don't see what is so special about him. Also, Hinata started wearing a huge coat for some reason, and it helps her blend in to the point that I can easily ignore her even when I don't want to. October 10th, 012 AK. Another year I'm 12 and things seem to be looking up. I still avoid the streets this day, but at least I don't have to avoid everyone on the streets anymore. Stranger yet, Iruka-sensei is really nice to me. Just 2 days ago he took me out to Ichiraku's for some ramen. Over our ramen he told me that I should write in a journal or something to have a thing to look back at my accomplishments. So I'll try writing more often again. Hinata never made it any further since she just couldn't keep her eyes open anymore, and fell asleep in the pages of the open journal. IWA, June 20th, 015 AK evening. When evening came, Rantu was oblivious to it as he was still sleeping. He was so sound asleep he didn't hear the knocking or shouting. Rantu, you awake? Sanioto got no answer. Hey! Wake up! Still no response, so he decided to check and make sure he was still breathing. Damn, that kid can sleep, he thought as he left the room to meet the Kage for the evening. So Sanioto, how did the testing go? Asked Kenji. Well, I think I tired him out a little too much in that short time. He's still sleeping. He replied, sitting down next to Kenji at the table. He is still quite low on chakra, but since we found him he has nearly 6x's the chakra. You can expect double that again by tomorrow, so you might be able to do some real training. Wait, I never told you that he even took to being a ninja yet. How would you know he would? I'm the Kage. I'm supposed to know these things, Kenji said with a smile. That, and every time someone new to him walked in the dining hall at breakfast he would grab at his right thigh like he was expecting there to be a kunai pouch. Yes, I do recall him doing the same in our little spar. So what do you think of his skills? Well, he has definitely been trained as a ninja, but he has no real taijutsu stance. I feel it is probably due to the fact that his moves make no sense and can't be predicted, almost like it was created for people who excel at predicting movements, like a style built for the intended use against an Uchiha. Even at the slow speed we were moving at, he still got in a hit I wasn't expecting. Target practice was a waste. He is probably better than I am, but the jutsus is where things get interesting. I believe he is a wind master. Kenji dropped his eating utensils in shock at what he was implying. He is also very silent and has a dry personality. He probably lost that with his memories. Well, even I didn't expect a wind master. Did you bring up him joining our village yet? Yes, I did, but he refuses to pledge full loyalty to the village in case he belonged to another and wanted to rejoin, and he wanted free reign if he found leads to his memories. Well, he thought that one out well. I believe we can still benefit from his services. Make sure he gets that blank forehead protector back to signify him as a ninja and train him for 1 year. After that year he will be placed on missions to pay for his training for about half of a year, then he is free to do what he wants. There is another stipulation: he has to become a noble of the village with everything that goes with it. It is village law that any elemental master staying for over 1 year is to be registered as such. You may also want to find an etiquette specialist to teach him all the aspects of being a noble. The two continued the rest of the meal in near silence. Santen was out on a mission, leaving just the two. When they were finished they excused themselves and went their own way. Konoha, June 21st, 015 AK. Daybreak. Hinata woke with a horrible neck ache and lightly cursed herself for falling asleep in the journal. Since it was very early still, Hinata decided to read more about Naruto's life before morning training. November 7th, 012 AK. Today is yet another day. I finished for the day at the academy and decided to get in my extra practice that I clearly need to catch up to anyone. What is really strange is that for about the last year, I get this feeling like I'm being watched. But it isn't that freaky being watched, it is more calming. What was different about today is I caught a glimpse of the person watching me hiding behind the academy building. When I investigated, the person disappeared, and so did that nice feeling. I think I just might have an angel watching over me. December 12th, 012 AK. Iruka-sensei took me to lunch last week and seems to be doing it much more often, but I'm not complaining about free ramen. Also today Iruka announced that there was going to be a Christmas dance or whatever. I had no idea what his was, but he said that you should ask someone of the opposite gender to go with you. Immediately everyone started talking and I decided to look around the class and saw Hinata looking right at me with a bright red face. I really wonder if she was feeling alright. I saw Sakura ask Sasuke and he said it was a complete waste of time and Sakura looked crushed. I decided to ask her if I could take her to try and cheer her up, but she told me to shut up and greeted my face with a fist or five. I decided to ignore everything and just not go. Like Shikamaru would say, it was just too troublesome. January 13th, 013 AK. Yay, a new year. For the next half a year we will be focusing on the techniques to pass the genin exams. Iruka-sensei has a list of 20 techniques that could be on the test, and to my horror most of the students could already do half of them, while I struggled with the first one. January 24th, 013 AK. Today I was somewhat able to do the henge, but it didn't have the flair I wanted it to. Then when I saw a woman in the village that was wearing very little clothes and gaining the looks of all the guys, I thought of the perfect getaway technique for my pranks. They wouldn't be able to think with a half-dressed woman there. February 4th, 013 AK. I have put substantial effort into my new distraction jutsu, but it just wasn't turning out right because I had no idea what a woman's body looks like, so I decided to research it a bit. I found a magazine store where only men shopped, and I thought there might be something to base my jutsu off of in there, and was I ever right? But the women in those magazines wore nothing. I was shocked by how strangely pretty a girl looks with no clothes on, but unfortunately I don't think I'll be able to look at another girl without imagining them naked. I feel so perverted now, but at least I made my jutsu a complete success. February 17th, 013 AK. I am completely drained after sweeping and mopping the entire academy. I did pass the henge test, barely, after knocking Iruka out for 30 minutes with my new jutsu. I don't know why, but Hinata asked Iruka if she could help with the cleaning. Maybe she thought it was good training. February 27th, 013 AK. Tomorrow is the genin exams. Hopefully I'll pass, but I suck at tests. If they test me on bushins, I'll surely fail since I can't ever do them correctly. I hope they won't test us on that. March 1st, 013 AK. Yesterday was the genin exam and like I thought, they put the bushin on the test and I failed horribly. But when I walked to the front of the room for my test I saw Hinata looking at me again, and she was doing her finger prodding thing she does when she tries to get courage to say something. I may seem stupid, some things I do notice, but I still haven't figured out why she turns so red when I look at her. She really does look cute sometimes, but I can never do anything about it since I could get beat down again, so why not ask Sakura out on a date? That way I will only get hit a couple times. It's getting so easy to ask Sakura out that I think I may actually like her now. She is kind of pretty. Well, anyways, I watched all the parents proudly pick up their kids and congratulated them on passing while I stared at my feet in my swing. I saw Hinata was looking at me sadly and I pulled a cheery smile from my bag of fake smiles, but it fell soon after seeing the older Hyuga glare at me with those horrible eyes. After everyone left, Mizuki-sensei talked me into stealing a scroll from the old man, saying if I learned a jutsu from the scroll I would pass, but he lied. I did manage to learn a jutsu and defeated him with it, the Kagebushin. After defeating him, Iruka-sensei gave me his forehead protector and said I passed. So today I can't wait to see the look on all those idiots' faces when the future Hokage gets his team assignment. Hinata smiled a bit but still slammed the journal shut in anger. Damn it, Sakura. It was your fault everything happened. If you wouldn't have threatened him he would have talked to me, and if you wouldn't have made him promise to bring Sasuke back he'd still be alive. Hinata screamed in her mind some more before she decided she needs to go out and confront that problem. Well, maybe after breakfast. Dates appear as such: June 18th. 015 AK, midday, meaning the obvious. The 015 is basically saying that October of that year Naruto is 15. Thoughts just a reminder. IWA, June 21st, 015 AK morning. This morning was about the same as the last. Rantu injured himself a bit trying to drag himself out of bed. Once again he was surprised that he missed evening but didn't dwell on that for too long. He quietly went to the dining room and ate breakfast while Kenji explained his own stipulations before offering the forehead protector. If you forgot already, back up a chapter to refresh. Do you accept, my boy? Before I give an answer, what does being a noble entail? Very astute, my boy. Nobles usually are mostly just for show. Usually you only see them during village events. Another use is to be a medium for disputes, helping the parties to settle their differences. We are also required to list your marital status to be reported to other nobles and noble clans for possible betrothal. Nearly all requests of that nature will be optional, only requiring a letter of declination. But every so often you may be involved with one that is mandatory, requiring you to meet with the person before you can decline. That is usually reserved for events that may strengthen villages' alliances. One more thing they get is a weapon specially built for your strengths. So I don't have to get married at all. But some betrothal meetings require attendance, correct? Rantu got a nod in agreement, and picked up the forehead protector, wrapping it around his head securely. Thank you, Kenji-sama. I will report to Sanyoto-sensei for more training. Rantu excused himself from the table and left to find his sensei in the dojo. Konoha, June 21st, 0:15 AK, mid-morning. Hinata had her breakfast and got in her light morning training, but still couldn't focus until he had gotten the anger she felt taken care of. Bringing the journal along for proof, Hinata marched her way to Sakura's house. Filled with determination, Hinata walked up to the door and knocked loudly, bringing the pink-haired medic to the door. Hello, Sakura never got the rest out before the young Hyuga slapped her across the face, knocking her back in pain and shock. What the hell was that for Hinata? Let's just say we have some things to talk about. Hinata held the journal up and stepped into the house without asking permission. Sakura closed the door and sat her down so they could talk about the issue. After some short explanations, one being Sakura didn't think Naruto would remember her threats, which Hinata unfortunately agreed with for a logical reason. They decided to sit down and read a couple entries together, of course, after Sakura apologized for threatening him again. March 2nd, 0:12 AK. Arg, first I get stuck on a team with Sasuke team, and then I get stuck with the chronologically challenged, always late not old, pervert sensei. There is some good news though, Sakura is on my team, and hopefully she will see that I am just as good as the team and acknowledge me. Anyways, Kakashi-sensei sucks with his stupid bell test, but in a weird twist of events we ended up passing his stupid test and became his first team of genins, and tomorrow we get our first mission. March 9th, 0:12 AK. Arg, they call these missions. I bet even Konohamaru could do these. I mean really, how many times do I have to get scratched by that stupid cat before I get a real mission? Apparently us genin are also the local weed pullers as well. This just sucks, I need a better mission. March 10th, 0:12 AK. Today I yelled at old man Hokage for giving us all these crappy missions all the time, and he finally gave up and gave us a C mission guarding a drunken old bridge builder on his return to Wave Country. I think it will be nice to leave this village for a while. May 12th, 0:12 AK. I don't bring my journal with me on missions for security reasons. Our team just got back from our dangerous mission to Wave. It was supposed to be a C mission, but it ended up being an A instead because Tazuna and the Wave Country didn't have the money for an A class. I will make this story very short. On our way there we ran into a couple missing Nins, and they ended up poisoning me in the fight. They were defeated and we carried on until we met up with another couple Nins known as Zabuza and Haku. Kakashi-sensei got trapped in a jutsu in Sasuke and I had to free him, and then he beat him until Haku showed up and faked Zabuza's death and retreated with him. We got to Tazuna's house and met Tsunami and her son Inari, and then Kakashi-sensei made us climb trees with chakra. Sasuke and I sucked at it, but Sakura did it almost perfectly the first time. I passed out during training and met Haku and mistook him as a girl, but he was actually quite nice. He showed me rule number 25 of Shinobi Code is stupid. We are humans, we can't ever not show emotions. Some emotions make us stronger. It was after Zabuza and Haku died, after Zabuka killed of Gato the bastard that hired him, that I decided I would make my own way of the ninja. I will never give up, never go back on my promises, and I will protect all those precious in my life. June 12th, 0:12 AK. A few days ago some of us ran into some strange ninja from the Sand Village. They told us they were here for the Chunin exams. I've never heard of them, but later Kakashi-sensei told us we could enter them as well. July 1st, 0:12 AK. Today was the start of the exams. We ran into some problem getting to the exam room, mostly due to Sasuke being a show-off and drawing too much attention to himself, but I didn't do much better when we were in the exam room. We met a guy named Kabuto. He seemed strange since he hasn't passed the exam in 4 years. While the written part of the exam was a pain, I didn't know any of them. I was quite frustrated until Hinata surprised me by letting me cheat off her paper. I didn't even see her there. I didn't cheat just because I didn't want to take the chance of getting her failed for helping me, but I guess I missed the point of the test. I figured I should have known them since I've seen them all the first year of academy on those tests, so how was I supposed to know I was supposed to cheat? Now that I know those questions were never intended to be answered, I'll be sure to stick Irika-sensei with an extra large bill next time we go out to Ichiraku's. We all passed before a crazy-ass lady jumped into the room announcing the next part of the exam. July 8th, 0:12 AK. Woohoo! I won my match against Kiba. Oops, I never wrote about anything else. Well, we went into the forest of death and got attacked by Orochimaru. I got swallowed by a huge snake and then we fought, and lost badly, and Sasuke got bitten by the freak while I got punched, and that felt really weird. Well, we then fought some other weird dudes to get our scrolls and we ended up in the tower. Since there was quite a few ninja teams that passed, we had a preliminary round to remove some people. Sasuke fought a dude named Yoroi and barely won. Next Shino decimated that sound bastard Zaku with his bugs. Kankuro, the puppet dude from Sand, fought Tsurugu, the puppet dude won but I wasn't paying attention much. Sakura and Ino fought and they ended knocking each other out. That sand lady Temari easily defeated Tenten since her weapons were useless. Shikamaru won against King even though he said it was too troublesome. I got my match next with Kiba, but it was all just a blur. Luckily I won against him but I won't tell him it was that lucky. The next match was mean, pathetic and probably one I will never forget. Before that match Hinata gave me this awesome ointment that instantly healed my cuts, although I wonder why she did that for me when all I do is ignore her. I don't like remembering her match with Niji. His attacks were brutal and I really hated seeing Hinata get hurt so badly. But she kept going like a strong ninja should. Sakura said something about her watching me and that was why she didn't give up. I know that is a huge hint to something really big, but I'll think about that later. When Hinata coughed up blood and fell to the ground, I couldn't stop myself from jumping down and vowing on her blood to defeat Niji for hurting such a kind girl. The fight with Gaara and Lee was huge. Lee used these gate thingies and got really fast, but Gaara still nearly killed him. Last Choji got put down quickly by Dosu with a single punch. I now have about a month to train to fight Niji and that favorite playing bastard sensei went to train Sasuke while leaving me with that perverted ass Abizu. Well, sorry for slapping you, Sakura, I was just so angry. That's not a problem, but what got into you recently? You don't seem like you anymore. I decided I need to change. If I could have talked to Naruto-kun, things may have been different. If I want to keep any other people in my life, I need to stop being so shy. I would completely die if another person is taken from my life. I still don't know how I'll survive without Naruto ever coming back. Well, before you do anything stupid, be sure to come by and talk. Hinata turned around and walked out the door, shutting it and ran back to the Hyuga Manor and returned to her room locking the door again. July 9th, 012 AK. Today was quite weird. I went to go train with Abizu. He was in the process of teaching me how to walk on water when we got interrupted by perverted giggling. We saw old guy peeping into the woman's side of the bath and Abizu wanted to cover for being a pervert himself and tried to stop him. That was a bad idea since it turned out he was Jiraiya of the 3 legendary perverts. Well, actually Sanin, but I end up with 3 perverts to teach me, so you get the idea. I tricked Jiraiya, Erosenin, into training me where Abizu left off by using my sexy jutsu. I found out that the weird punch the snake freak gave me messed up my chakra control. Once that was fixed, water walking was easy, and he decided to teach me summoning with my red chakra. August 10th, 012 AK. Chunin finals are today, and a lot has happened since I started training. I woke up in the hospital yesterday after depleting my chakra. Sanin thought that the only way to bring out my red chakra was to put my life on the line, so he decided to throw me off a freaking cliff. If that didn't work I would have been dead, but it did and I managed to summon Gamabunta, the toad boss, after demanding chakra from the bastard fox. I ended up in a contest to stay on the huge toad's back and it ended with me passing out, but I think I won. Also yesterday Gaara and his crazy ass tried to kill off Lee in the hospital. This guy is nuts. August 13th, 012 AK. Man, shit sure has hit the sky recently, but I'll just start from the beginning. 2 days ago I was so worried about fighting Niji that I went for a walk to calm myself, and I ended up at the training area where I became a genin. Surprisingly Hinata was there. She really seems to be popping up a lot recently, and I guess I surprised her since she tried to hide behind one of the stumps. I decided she would be the perfect person to ask about Niji. I told her I felt like a failure, but she nearly yelled at me that it wasn't true. She thought that if anything I was a proud failure, and that I filled her with admiration, and that she thought I was a strong person. I got the feeling that she was tempted to say more, but it could have just been me. She made me feel so good about myself. I really think I like people like her. I beat Niji by a little trick and help of Kyuubi's chakra. Sasuke got special treatment again and got his match postponed with Gaara. Let's skip though the other matches since they were boring. The sound invaded and Gaara ran off to transform into a weird creature of sand. He has a demon as well, and attacked Sakura and Sasuke. They got beat pretty bad and I had to step in and save them. I summoned Gamabunta, but not before summoning Gamakichi accidentally. I battled with him and things got fuzzy from there on, and we both ended up passing out. Unfortunately the snake bastard fought Old Man Hokage and killed him before he was run out of the village. His funeral is in a few hours. September 12th, 012 AK. I haven't written in a month and I have done a lot. Erosenin and I went to find the 5th Hokage outside of the village. During the trip I learned the Rasengan, and even won a bet with Bachan, earning her necklace in return. We finally convinced her to come back after fighting the snake bastard again. Once again he got away. When we returned home Shikamaru was promoted to Chunin and Tsunade Bachan healed the seriously injured ninja. Sasuke got his ass kicked by his brother Itachi early in the trip to find Bachan. After Sasuke was healed he was a complete ass, and we ended up fighting on the roof of the hospital. Shortly after it was broken up, Sasuke left to find power with Orochimaru. Sakura was so sad with him leaving even after trying everything to stay with him. When he left, she just cried like I haven't seen her do before. That was when I saw that she really did love him, and I realized that was not the same I felt towards her, so I guess me liking her was a big lie even to myself. But I still promised to bring Sasuke back to her. A team of genin were assembled to chase down Sasuke and bring him back. But along the way we ran into quite a few sound bastards with cursed seals. Quite a few of my friends were hurt badly in fighting them, but I did catch up with Sasuke. We beat the hell out of each other, but he always seemed to be ahead of me in everything. I believe he really was trying to kill me since I should have died 3 times during the fight, but Kyubi kept healing me. At one point I could have killed him, but I decided to scratch his forehead protector instead just to show that I could have, but that got me a hole in my chest again. Again I woke up in a hospital bed and I felt so useless, but Ero-Sennin decided I should go with him on a training trip for about 3 years. We will be leaving in a few months, and he said I should do some missions here to gather some money. December 7th, 012 AK. I leave with Ero-Sennin today, and it has been kind of crazy around here. I did some guard this and get that type of missions but nothing to help find Sasuke until on mission. I was sent with Shino and Hinata to find a bug I still can't pronounce. We failed it horribly, but I did remember a few things about it. While we were sleeping, I needed to relieve myself and for some reason I was drawn to a river and there in the moonlight I witnessed the most beautiful sight. There was a beautiful girl dancing naked on the water. Her moves were elegant as the water splashed all around her. She was mesmerizing. I'm glad I couldn't see her form in detail, otherwise my head would explode, but I was still drawn to get closer. I got to the edge and slipped and fell into the water, scaring her away. I first thought it was a dream, but for something being more beautiful than I have ever seen, it would have to be real since dreams are based on what you've seen. Now I know I can be seen as quite stupid at times, but some things never get by me, so this is what I figured out. She was about my age and since she was on the water, she had to be a ninja. Now who was around in that area that is my age and a ninja and also a female? Oh, and who else wasn't asleep in the tent? Hinata. I do see why she wears that coat now, it is to hide all that beauty. I played my experience off as a dream and told Kiba about it, making Hinata glow red in the face. Well, I guess I should be off from here for 3 years. Goodbye Konoha. Naruto-kun, you knew it was me, and you liked it? I wish I could have talked to you more. Now all these feelings about you possibly liking me back are all wasted. Hinata closed the journal and hugged it close to her, as she cried herself to sleep for another session of restless slumber. IWA, same time frame. Rantu found his day of training to be exhausting. He was introduced to the chakra amplifier, the special weapon for nobles, in the form of a hilt, and managed to make a small dagger of wind-based chakra after 3 hours of trying. Once again he fell into his usual slumber, not to awake before morning again. Konoha, June 22nd, 015 AK, morning. Hinata woke early, determined to reach the end of the journal and the last sitting no matter what. She took a quick shower and sat down at her desk to finish her reading. October 10th, 014 AK. Ero-Sennin's training is really hard. He only gives me my birthday off to myself since he does his research while I train. I usually find him standing next to me saying I shouldn't be lying around when he comes by the next morning to where I passed out training. I guess he did manage to teach me some new jutsus, and I got the Rasengan perfected to one hand, so it isn't a complete waste. The problem I have is Ero-Sennin is getting obsessed with the Kyubi chakra and wants me to concentrate most of my time on controlling it. I hate using too much of that chakra since it makes some of my emotions disappear in favor of anger and the need to kill. I hate that feeling. March 21st, 015 AK. I managed to get some time away to write since Ero-Sennin is doing his peeping for those damn books all day. He even wants me to read them for my training. Yeah, right. Well, today I read everything I wrote in my journal so far, and the strangest thing popped out at me. In all the years Hinata has made it into nearly every entry. I noticed many entries said that she was always red, like blushing, when she was looking at me. Can that really mean she likes me? I must be the only person in Konoha to not notice. I must really be dumb. I want to entertain the idea of being with her, but I know it can never be. She is from a prestigious clan and will most likely marry away for someone to gain power. Besides, I'm an orphan with a freaking demon stuck in my gut. I'd be killed on sight anywhere near the manor, and even if we did manage to be together, how would the village see her? I can't let her experience those looks from all the people. October 10th, 015 AK. I guess I'm 15 now. Boy, time flies when you have no idea what is going on sometimes. I'm creating a twist on the Kaigebushin, and it is quite difficult to get what I want. I'm trying to get a more durable clone, but when I think I'm coming close, I lose a day of my memories somewhere. I usually find myself wandering around aimlessly. Ero-Sennin keeps yelling at me for wandering around recently due to Akatsuki, since they are supposedly on the move again. Because of that, he decided to personally supervise my training, but that means more Fox Chakra training. I got to about 2 taels worth of chakra easily, but Ero-Sennin says I need much more. Every time I use that chakra it makes me sick with all that bloodlust. Anyways, I am really looking forward to returning home in 8 months. February 12th, 016 AK. A few days ago, not sure how many, I managed to pull out 3 taels of chakra and still felt mostly in control, but Ero-Sennin wanted more, so I pulled for more, and that was when everything went black. When I woke up I was in the middle of 2 acres of destroyed land and almost no clothing was on me, and Ero-Sennin was barely conscious. According to him, 4 taels has exponentially more power than the other tailed stages. This was exactly the reason I hated using that chakra, and now he is stuck in a hospital for a while. But at least I can work on my modified jutsu. February 21st, 016 AK. I think I just made a breakthrough on my jutsu. I tried reinforcing my clones with even more chakra, but if I did it in a certain way, they actually generate chakra on their own. They are almost as durable as I am and are different in personalities than before. The only way to dispel them is to make contact with them and then try to cancel the jutsu. The coolest part is your chakra isn't wasted when they dispel, but what they didn't use comes back to me. May 12th, 016 AK. I've gotten better at my new clones, but every so often I get a clone that looks drastically different than I look and even has an almost opposite personality, not just a different one. But the worst part is we both think we are the creator of the jutsu. It's just creepy. June 12th, 016 AK. We should be heading back home soon, but it is possible I won't be able to. Somehow Orochimaru found a way to shorten the time between uses of his jutsu, which means he can use it in about 5 days. Therefore I just got an idea. We are just barely outside of sound right now, and the only reason Sasuke is with him is he thinks he will get the power he wants. But the only way to do that is for him to kill his best friend or family, and I'm the closest thing he has to that. What I'm about to do may cost me my life, but there is a chance it won't, and I'll take that chance to bring him back. People love him in Konoha, and everyone needs love. I hope to see Konoha again, but if I don't, I hope I see my friends in the next life. Please everyone take care of yourselves, and if you find this, please give it to the person that knows me best. What were you planning, Naruto-kun? I really want to know how you let this happen without destroying half the area. Hinata was about to shut the book but caught a glimpse of something out of the ordinary with one of the pages. What? Is this a chakra-sensitive page? Hinata channeled a bit of chakra into the page and a message revealed itself. Hinata, I really hope you aren't reading this since it means I didn't come back from my stupid plan. I'm sure it is you that got this journal since you always seem to know exactly what I was thinking and as such you knew me best. I figured you were most likely the person watching me all these years, and I thank you. Your calming presence is what got me through those times I felt worthless. I really would give anything to have you here to say something to get my hope back like you did before the Chunin exam. Or at least be near so I feel that calm you bring. I feel like something won't go right when I chase Sasuke. But I must get him back. If I don't, Orochimaru will be undefeatable and I cannot allow that to happen. I'm sorry I couldn't see you and tell you about the things I feel. I never really realized how much you pop up in my life, and now after looking back I feel you are a big part of it. I really wish I could figure out these things I have been feeling when I think of you. But I don't want to make things worse by telling you about it. I really wish you weren't reading this. I hope you can move on and have a happy life with someone. You deserve to be happy and I can't be there to do it. You never had to try so hard to get my attention. I already know you are the strongest kunoichi of our generation, and make sure you believe that, and keep trying to get stronger. As my last written words, I want you to promise that you will continue training to get stronger, and please find someone to love and have a happy life. Just promise me this and I know you will do it since we both live by the same ninja way. Naruto-kun, why? I really needed you. I don't know how to love someone else. But for you I need to move on. I promise I will try to move on. I'll try to live without you. Hinata curled up on her bed hugging the journal and cried her eyes out. She stayed in her room for most of the day drowning in her sorrow until she couldn't possibly create another tear. Dragging herself from her bed she walked out to find a place to train to cause physical pain to hide her emotional pain. Konoha, July 22nd 016 AK. About a month has passed since the funeral. The village just started to get back to normal as everyone was being issued missions again from their time off, but there were some people a bit apprehensive about starting, one of which was Kiba. Walking up to the nurse's station at the Konoha hospital he found exactly who he was looking for. Chatting away with one of the other nurses was the slim-figured pink-haired medic he needed a moment with. Hey Sakura, I need to speak to you. He called out, drawing her attention. Huh, Kiba? She replied, dumbfounded since she never talked to him. What do you need to talk about, Hinata? Was his solemn reply. Well, I think it is a little early to ask her out on a date, Kiba. She retorted angrily. I want help with that. She turned away from him after yelling. Why do they always come to me about this stuff? She asked. No one in particular? No, Sakura, it isn't about that. I just think she is trying to hurt herself. What? Tell me more, Kiba, out with it. She screamed as she turned to him once more. Ever since a few days after the funeral she has been training hard. I don't see what is so horrible about that, she interrupted before he finished. Kiba was slightly irritated at her interruptions but just sighed. Let me finish. I'm not talking normal hard, I'm talking Lee hard. I just talked to Hanabi and according to her Hinata has either come home nearly dead on her feet, or was carried back by Niji. She even said that Hinata has been crying herself to sleep hugging that journal every night. I need you to talk to her. I'm afraid that if she doesn't find a way to cope with her feelings that she might not return from our next mission. Ah crap, sorry Kiba, I'll take care of it, but I'll need some reinforcements. Thank you, I'll owe you one. Nope, you don't owe me a thing. I'm doing this for her, not you. Sakura took off to find her help, since this was officially an emergency. A group of 4 beautiful, young women marched through the streets of Konoha with a purpose. Sakura, Ino, Tenten, and even I am from the ramen shop were accompanied by a rather large box of cinnamon rolls. They all became friends over the past few years since they tended to frequent the ramen shop, saying as how everyone missed the presence of the blonde. When the 4 women came upon Hinata's favorite training ground they were terrified at what they saw. It was almost like a female Lee with the way she was striking at the targets with no regard for her safety since the stumps clearly had a pink tinge to them. They quickly ran to her to get her to stop. Hinata, we need to talk. Sakura announced in a soft and friendly voice. Can't training, was her dry reply as she kept striking at the target with her bloodied hands. I'm afraid it isn't up for debate, Hinata. Stop and let's talk. No, Sakura, I have training to do, leave me alone. Hinata never stopped or even turned around but just kept up her strikes. I'm sorry, Hinata. Sadly, Sakura drew back her hand and sent it flying across her delicate face, slapped not punched. Stop, Hinata! Can't you see what you are doing to yourself? Sakura yelled. Hinata was now wide-eyed looking at the serious, but sad face of her friend. She finally gave in and fell to her knees in tears. Her pale eyes continued flowing as her sorrowful wails continued. Sakura motioned to the others to come and help her out with the little mess of emotions while Sakura immediately healed her bleeding hands. Why, Sakura, why does it have to hurt so much? Pleaded the teary face Hyuga. Before she could answer, I stunned the group by speaking first. Pain is connected to the love of the person that is lost. The more love you have for the person, the more pain exists at their loss. That is why it hurts so much. It is because you loved so much. But how can I make it stop? How can I forget it? You will never forget, Hinata, this I truly know. Cut in Sakura. But talking about it may take the edge off. Tenten stated with a little smile. Ah, true, but nothing helps like the comfort of some pure sugar, Ino declared and pulled out the box of rolls and handed them to Hinata, getting a slight smile from the distraught girl. They all talked a bit until amazingly the box went empty. It was a huge box, meaning Hinata managed to eat half. Feeling a bit more at ease, Hinata decided to take her leave. Standing up, she felt two arms hook into hers. Oh no you don't, commanded Sakura. We aren't through with you quite yet, girl. Chimed Ino as the four giggled, dragging a refusing, but not too refusing. Hew the girl off into the village streets, disappearing into the crowd to never be seen again. Oops, I mean to live happily ever after. No, that isn't right either. I got it. They disappeared to do whatever the hell girls do when they drag someone off like that. Your guess is as good as mine. Oh, how time passes so quickly. Time jumps with stopping in every so often. Hinata found it slightly easier to live with herself knowing that her pain was normal and was meant to be there, but it still hurt her worse than when she lost her mother all those years back. Hinata never went back to her usual self, but who could really blame her? Her extreme kindness faded away, bringing her closer and closer to her clan's idea of a great heir, but many saw it as losing an exceptional soul. As her kindness faded, so did her tendency for self-sacrifice, an honorable trait for ninja, but not for a clan heir. If the clan realized what impact losing the demon brat would have made of her, they would have killed him off much earlier. For the clan, she was becoming perfect bit by bit. Hinata wasn't seen smiling or even remotely happy at all. It was just training and missions for her. But behind her locked door of her room, it was a bit different. Sakura managed to score her some bright orange clothes, one of his black and orange outfits, which she would wear every night as she went to sleep, hugging her precious journal. She had a tendency to smile while sleeping, as her dreams would take her back to the person she wanted to be with. But she always knew they would end causing some pain to hit her. But for just that moment of being with him, she would never wish the dreams away. A few more months carried on and Hinata continued to grow cold to cope with her never-ending pain. But elsewhere, the village seemed to be moving in a more favorable fashion. The last Uchiha was reinstated to the ranks as Chunin only after being back for 4 months. Under the copy ninja's tutelage, he was finding that he was getting closer and closer to his ultimate goal. Another jump of about 6 months, 9 months from funeral, and more things have changed. Sasuke has become a jonin, but better still is there was actually a human under his cold exterior. Much to Sakura's delight, he showed her he was human by asking officially to court her, and how could she disagree? Sakura not only got what she always wanted, but she was also promoted to the head of the hospital so Tsunade could focus more on her Hokage duties. Sakura's smile never fell from her face as she realized life couldn't get any better, but the smile always faltered when she passed a certain dark-haired girl while on a date with Sasuke. It almost always got ugly then. With all the once young genins approaching full adulthood, they all saw much less of each other. Shikamaru spent most of his time running missions to Suna. Now most would say that it might be too troublesome to do these missions, but for him it would be even more troublesome if he didn't. Ino could almost always be seen at her family's flower shop, most recently in the presence of a Sasuke lookalike that always seemed to be drawing pictures of the flowers while they attempted a conversation. And then you have Choji. Well, he just managed to keep stuffing his face and getting fatter, further away from anorexia. You could never find Shino anymore since he was almost always away on some clan business that was rumored to be in fulfillment of an arranged marriage. Kiba, of course, like many other dogs, was mostly just chasing after any and all women for some enjoyment between missions, and because his mother was getting after him to find someone to continue the clan with. His mother even once suggested him to date Hinata, but that was shot down faster than Jiraiya's advances with Tsunade, since the same reaction would probably happen. And then you have Hinata. She was still very much a cold person, but the clan was happy with her progress. Next we have Lee. He was of course married to his training and found there really wasn't a need for women in his life. Besides, according to him, if Guy's youthful flames didn't need to be joined by a female, then why does his? Now then, this brings us to Niji. He clearly was the strangest in how his personality evolved. For every step colder Hinata got, he got warmer. Of course he wasn't going around smiling and greeting everyone on the street, but occasionally you would see him eyeing his female teammate, and if you really watched them, You may even see them share a kiss between them. His relationship was never made official, since he wasn't allowed to be courting while the heiress remained unwed. While all this happened, time moved forward in IWA as well. Rantu, the new Wind Master, was adjusting to his life of nobility. About 6 months ago, his chakra level stabilized and hasn't missed the evening meal since. His ability with the chakra amplifier weapon was so advanced that he needed his made into a separating device. His weapon appears as a hilt to a sword, and when chakra is forced into it, it takes the appearance of a large blade, like usual weapons of that type. But his extreme amount of chakra, he can divide the hilt in two and have twin chakra swords. Apparently Rantu became a well sought after male in the world of marriages. Currently he has to refuse about 3 requests for courtship per week due to his popularity. Most of his success in that area comes from his performance on missions, which was known to all that had access to the noble's files. Since he managed to complete his training earlier than expected, he started into running missions to maybe find something about himself, but always came up empty. His status as a Wind Master was well deserved, since there is no longer a single wind jutsu in IWA that is unknown to him, not like there were many, but there were still some good ones. Although his travels found him no information on his memories, he did have quite the collection of cash from completing 5C rank, 5B rank, 13A rank, and with a team, 14A and 3S rank missions. Due to his exceptional success in missions, IWA has never been requested for so many missions since the last secret war, so obviously the Wind Master has been paying off. Konoha, April 18th, 017 AK, midday, slowing time down a bit, no more huge jumps maybe. Hinata was returning home after another successful mission like the usual now, and was met at the gate by a branch member of her clan. Hinata-sama, your presence is requested in Hayashi-sama's study. You are to go there immediately upon arrival. Relayed the older Hyuga member. Fine, was her quick and firm reply. She went to the Hyuga estate and negotiated the halls until she arrived at the door to her father's study. Giving a firm knock, she was greeted by none other than the current clan head. Entering the large study, she noticed the clan council was all gathered there around the perimeter of the room. Hanabi was currently kneeling at the center while Hayashi motioned for her to take up the spot next to her sister and started addressing the group after she was situated. Hinata, Hanabi, the council and I have been in discussion this week on who to award the position of heir. We have extensively reviewed the efforts of each candidate through past actions to current. Therefore, upon fulfillment of standard Hyuga protocol, we have chosen Hinata as heir. Congratulations, daughter, I am proud. Hayashi's declaration was exactly what Hinata has always wanted to hear, but she felt nothing. No happiness was felt from the acceptance she always wanted. Thank you, father, elders. May I ask what the standard protocol you were referring to? Hinata asked uncaringly. Yes, straight to business. I see on your 17th birthday you will be presented with a choice of 4 potential men for your betrothal. Hinata's disgust was apparent, but Hayashi continued anyways. Since there are no Hyuga members within your age that is of distant enough relation, we will locate one outside the clan. Within a month's time afterwards, you will need to choose one of the 4 to be married to by the time you're 18. But you won't be allowed the full title of heir until you produce a strong Byakugan-wielding child of your own due to marrying outside of the clan. If you are unable to produce one by the time you're 23, you will be replaced, and the title will go to your sister since she already has a betrothal to a Hyuga. Do you understand your duties, Hinata? For a moment Hinata remembered images of one of her dreams of a pale-eyed blonde-haired child sleeping in her arms, but she quickly kicked it to the back of her mind before a blush or tears made it to the surface. Yes, father. Very well, you may retire to your room for the rest of the evening. Hinata and her sister left the study, as well as the rest of the council, leaving Hayashi to his underhanded thoughts. Now then, all I need to do is find some men that will be sterile to our bloodline. Hayashi grabs the scroll of all eligible nobles and only finds 2 that would fit the bill. Well, since there is only 2, the other 2 need to be a horrible match, forcing her choice to the others. With no way of conceiving an heir, Hanabi will be put to her rightful place and Hinata will be reduced to nothing once Hayashi's plan was finalized. He set off to turn in for the night, not even noticing the dark shadow disappearing into the halls, chuckling to itself. Note the last phrase, it is important, you will see something like this again. IWA, June 8th, 017 AK evening. It was a warm, clear summer night in IWA as the tan-haired, gray-eyed Wind Master returned from a 2-week mission to locate and eliminate 3 missing neens. The mission was a success, but Rantu was still a little upset that he needed to use the full force of his twin swords, but they all died by his hand, so no one has yet really lived to see the full power of his swords, aside from those he trained with. He made his way into the entry of the Kage's mansion, where he still lives, and was greeted by his usual helper. Rantu-sama, we have 7 more of the usual requests. That's more than usual. Anything special? Well, actually, yes. You have received a high-level request from Konoha for a December 27th meeting. Is it Konoha or Konohagar? Who really cares? It is in English. Maybe I'll stick with Konoha. That is a little different. I guess I'll write the declination letter myself then. Actually, Rantu-sama, this is a request that outranks your status. Because of the weak alliance between our 2 villages, your presence is mandatory. But the clan mistress will have her choice between 4 possible men, so it shouldn't be too hard to avoid that if you want. Santen-sama has been requested as well, so you'll have a bit of familiar company. So, what do we know of this clan? Nothing much really other than it is a bloodline clan. This statement got the attention of the Wind Master. Well, isn't that strange? For a bloodline clan, they would never want to recruit Santen since he has an anti-bloodline gene that would prevent the passing of the traits of a bloodline. That would be disastrous for a clan that relies on their bloodline. It sounds like I should go just to at least figure that out. So then when should I leave? It is suggested that you get there about a month ahead of time to get a mandatory mental evaluation by the Hokage. You will then be under watch so you won't be able to have unfair time with the mistress. Rantu nodded, showing he understood the details. I guess it's settled then. We go to Konoha in 5 months. Konoha, October 10th, 017 AK evening, 3 months from last segment. October 10th, the day the Yondaime lost his life to save the village from the Kyuubi. Since the heavy losses on that day, for the past 16 years it has become the only day the Hokage calls off all missions in memory of all lost ninja. For a few of the ninja within the village, this day holds just a little more pain since it was also the birthday of one ninja that never returned to their ranks. Like every year since his death, the group of people who really knew him would gather together. But for some reason Hinata didn't hold the usual look. This year something else was on her mind. This look of course didn't go unnoticed by her closest friends and acquaintances. The women of the group saw that the heiress needed to talk about something, and usually it had something to do with the lost blonde. Taking it upon themselves, the women took Hinata to a secluded area of town to speak. Of course she struggled to be left alone, but she couldn't get away from the strength of the Hokage who was joining them. So tell us, Hinata, what has you further in the dumps than usual? Questioned Tsunade. It really doesn't concern you, was Hinata's rude reply as she looked away from her. How could anything that could interfere with missions be of no concern to me? Tsunade snapped before calming herself, and tried again in her soft caring tone. Most of all, I feel like a mother to all of you. I've seen you all grow, cry and laugh together for many years. You know we all care for you, Hinata, and we hate to see the path you are going down. You have separated yourself from nearly everyone and have become an empty shell of what you once were. I have seen this occur more times than I have ever wanted, and it usually ends with a person's suicide. Her words created a solemn atmosphere where no one wanted to speak. This ending wasn't one most would speak of, but no one could deny the possibility. When Hinata spoke, it was almost silent. Her head was bowed, looking at the ground. If suicide was an option, I would have taken it already. I have thought about it over a dozen times just to make my hurting stop. Normally the women wouldn't be surprised if the thought came across her mind once or twice, but being over a dozen, they were speechless and quite scared for the girl. I am still here because I made a promise on his memory. In his journal, he specifically asked me to promise him that I would live my life and try to be happy, and because of that promise, he is still keeping me alive even though he isn't here anymore. Tears poured down her face again, but the women were relieved that she wouldn't take her life since she never breaks her promises. That does account for a lot of things, but what has changed so recently that has you down even more? Asked Sakura. Hinata looked at the group and knew she wouldn't get away without spilling, so she decided to give in to their requests. It feels like I'm betraying his memory, and it hurts me so much. What makes you feel like you are betraying him? Asked Tenten as the grilling continued. In a little over a year, I'm getting married. Not taking in the whole concept of it, Ino jumped up, hugging the sad girl. Really, Hinata? That's wonderful. Who's the lucky man? Ino then realized what she was doing and nearly sank into the ground in embarrassment. I'm sorry. No, it's okay. It really should be good news in normal cases, but my clan isn't normal. Since there isn't anyone of Hyuga decent near my age, I will have to choose from 4 hand-picked nobles from other lands, but I will only have 1 month to choose which I will marry, and then I'll have to be around him every day from then on. Only 1 month to find love, shouted Ino, again without thinking. No, Ino, I think I can only love once. This will just be something I do for the clan, nothing more. Well, that may be true, but don't think it doesn't matter. If you pick someone that doesn't respect you, you could end up being sexually abused. Since you will still need to have sex with him to have a child, you will need at least a good man that wouldn't hurt you. I am, informed her almost like she has seen an abusive relationship before. Not her parents. Hinata started sobbing again as she realized that information. Her cold attitude fell along with her tears as she cried, showing a glimpse of the real Hinata trapped in the sorrow. Hey, don't worry. When they come in for their mental evaluation, we'll check out some other things for you, since men tend to hide their true intentions until it is too late. They can't hide themselves from a Yamanaka. Ino informed them in a bragging-like voice. Thank you, Ino. All you guys mean a lot to me. I'd never get through any of this without you. The group of women all gave Hinata a hug of encouragement before they headed back to where the others were still at to continue having what fun they could together. IWA, November 29th, 017 AK, morning. Well, Kenji-san, I guess we should get going for Konoha. It'll be quite the trip. Hey, Santen. Get your womanizing ass down here. Well, Rantu, my boy, try to keep him in line, okay? Commented Kenji, that's such a kid. Yeah, I'll try. Just then Santen came running into the street next to him. I'm here already. I just needed to tell a few people I was leaving. Yeah, whatever, why did you pack so light? We'll be gone for a month at least. The Wind Master commented. Heh heh. Not like I'll need many clothes where we are going. Know what I mean? He said while elbowing Rantu. Whatever, see you later, Kenji. Rantu called out his goodbye and started on his way out of the village with Santen having to catch up. They had a relatively uneventful trip from IWA. There weren't any trouble to run into, it was just easygoing for the two esteemed travelers. They made exceptionally good time since they didn't stop unless it was to eat or sleep. Santen was rather irritated at this, but knew to keep his mouth shut. When the gates of Konoha came into view, Santen stopped when he saw more than the usual amount of guards. Hey Rantu, it appears as though security has been stepped up since the last time we were here on a mission. Do you think that is because of our arrival? Santen waited for a response, but realized he just ignored whatever he was saying and was almost at the gate already. He took off after Rantu and caught up to him again by the time they reached the gate and met with the guards. Travelers, state your business and produce your identification, ordered a rather pissed-looking ninja. I am Rantu here with Hitaro Santen hailing from IWA under invitation. Rantu and Santen pulled out their IDs and their invitation and presented them to the guards. Well, everything seems to be in order here. One of the guards will show you to the Hokage. They received their IDs and invitation back and followed the guard as he led them through the village until they ended at the office of the 5th Hokage, Tsunade. Greetings delegates from IWA. I am Tsunade and welcome to Konoha. I hope you enjoy your stay. Her face fell from the cheery greeting to one of more important business. Unfortunately, since this is an extended stay, you each must go through a series of questions and even a minor interrogation to be sure you aren't spies. I apologize for this, but it is protocol. Well, Tsunade wasn't lying about everything since the protocol was at her discretion. Understood, Hokage-sama. Rantu answered while trying to fight back the uncontrollable urge to call her Bachan and not knowing why. Very well, go find room 2C and wait there until you are summoned individually for questioning. Seeing the conversation was over, they decided to leave and find that room. The two sat waiting in the spacious room for nearly an hour before a thin blonde female came to greet them. Hello, my name is Ino, and I'll be helping in your interrogation. Ino gave them a sweet but sinister smile and grabbed Santen's arm and drug him out of the room. Rantu figured the questioning would probably take a little while and decided to relax a bit and maybe get in a short nap. He was abruptly woken from his nap, which seemed like moments later, when the door slammed open revealing a bruised and battered Santen falling to the ground. If that is minor interrogation, then what is normal? Rantu asked as he got out of his chair and stepped over his friend. That actually wasn't caused by the interrogation, that was from him making a pass at me and asking if I would join him at a local hotel. Ino replied with disgust. That sounds about right for him, shall we get going then? She nodded and led him down a staircase leading to below the Hokage Tower. They turned down a dark corridor and passed a few rooms where you could hear screams emanating from them. Since it wasn't his business, he shrugged it off and followed the blonde into a room with plush furniture, more reminiscent of a psychologist's office. Rantu was surprised that there was also an audience in the room. He saw a female with red eyes, and a silver-haired guy with half his face covered with a mask, and of course the Hokage. What do I owe the pleasure of all your presences? Rantu asked in a less than pleased tone. Zip it, kid, I don't like the reason you are here. Tsunade, clearly pissed, explained more. You see, the female you are here for means a lot to us and the village. Personally, I believe she should have been with someone else, but his time in this world was cut short. We really don't like how her stupid clan has played matchmaker bringing in people from outside the village, so it is our duty to know everything about you. You are the last of the four here, and so far we are disgusted with this generation of men. You don't appear to be any different than those others, so I would send all of you bastards back where you came. But I can't do that, so let's get this over with. Have fun figuring me out. I'm positive I'm not normal. He told them without the slightest form of joking. Alright, Mr. Confident, let's begin. Tsunade turned on the surveillance equipment and started to read his facts to the camera for the record. Rantu approximate age 17, birthday is unknown? Raising just an eyebrow in interest, Tsunade continued reading. Current noble of IWA, mission stats, 5C, 20B, 37A, and 2S rank missions with no failed missions? If the room wasn't all sitting, they would have fallen in surprise. How does one complete so many high-rank missions without a single D rank? Inquired the masked ninja, speaking out of turn. Kakashi, you shouldn't interrupt like that, but I am curious as well, so please answer the question. Ordered Tsunade. Fine, it's an easy answer. The first mission I remember going on was about a year ago, and I've been doing missions non-stop since. I was considered a jonin at that time, but I am not an official jonin. His answer brought more amazed looks since he has completed more missions in a single year than most have in their life. What do you mean by the first mission you remember? Tsunade asked. Simply put, I don't have memories beyond about 2 years ago. I have been running missions to find out about where I come from so I may return to my village, but I have found nothing. That seems way too convenient. Would you mind being subjected to a memory viewing jutsu? It will allow us to see into your memories and validate your claim. Inquired the Hokage. I get a strange feeling that I don't really have that choice, but go ahead. If you find out anything interesting, let me know. Very well, and you were correct, you didn't have a choice. Ino, you may proceed. The Busta woman commanded. With a nod, the blonde did a few hand signs and entered the Wind Master's mind. Ino was expecting the usual vertigo when adjusting to the mindscape, but apparently there was no resistance by his mind, so it lasted a very short time, which surprised the mind walker greatly. Ino continued on into his mind until she collected all the information she needed and released her jutsu, and returned to her own mind. Hokage-sama, it appears that he is telling the truth. I see no reason for concern with his presence in Konoha. Tsunade saw that Ino wanted to say more, but she really couldn't figure out how to say it. Very well then, I see no reason to keep you here further. Rantu, I hereby permit you access to Konoha as a liaison from IWA. Kakashi, Kurenai, please escort our guest on your way out. Reluctantly the two jonin left the room, leading Rantu back the way they came. Shutting the door after they left, Ino turned to the Hokage, knowing what she was going to ask her. Ino, what was it you saw in there that you aren't telling me? Well, it's his mind. It is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. There are some things that exist in every person's mind that just wasn't there. Also, there are usually memories people lock away from the others, like secrets. But his mind is an open book. Let me explain how nearly all people's mind look. Depending on the person, the mindscape changes, but the usual outline is the same. Everything is an open expanse, whether it is a large room or field. The larger the main room usually means the larger the intelligence. This main room reflects the personality of the person. For Hinata it was always a field of flowers and lush grasses, and for Shikamaru it was always just open sky with clouds. Now inside this area there will be various memories that can't be categorized by feelings and is filed similar to a filing cabinet that takes on the area's characteristics. Like the flowers in Hinata saw like the drawers of the cabinet. Then there are large doors at the edges of the area that lead to the sub-rooms where memories are sorted based on inner feelings. There is usually a room for anger, love, happiness, sadness, and a room for secrets. In some rare cases you can even get special rooms connecting to those main feeling rooms, like Sasuke has a room of hate leading from the anger room that is in existence just to house the hate he has of his brother. There are many other combinations that make more of these special rooms, but one I have only seen once is the one that connects to the love room, a place born from where the love for a person is so strong it needs its own room. These special rooms have a connection with the person they love, and the two are usually considered as soulmates, ones destined to be together. I don't know what the meaning is of it, but Hinata has one of these rooms in her mind, which means she is destined to be with that guy, but since she never was able to, it should be impossible to have it. Anyways, that is how mindscapes work, but with Rantu, things are different. His main room is devoid of light, yet it isn't dark, and the memories that belong in the room are few, but they are supposed to be in the file cabinets. But instead there are boxes holding the memories like they are waiting to be filed. It is like a mind that hasn't been finished yet, and there are no other rooms like normal. This basically means he has no secrets, but also no real feelings either. He just doesn't make sense. That is indeed very interesting, Ino. We should keep an eye on him, since from what you say, or didn't say, he will most likely be the one chosen since he isn't perverted like the rest. We won't tell Hinata this yet, just to see who she will choose on her own. But I may need to check on why Hayashi would personally choose 3 womanizers and 1 halfway decent person, full knowing she would choose him. Alright Ino, you're finished here, you may go home. Thank you, Hokage-sama. Ino left the room the moment Tsunade pulled out the sake to ease her struggles of her mind. Konoha, Deck 27, 017 AK, mid-morning. The next month passed by slowly, and the 4 guests were only allowed outside their dwellings on occasional days and most nights that would coincide with when Hinata was away. Most of the time, even when they were allowed outside, the 4 weren't in contact with each other to keep them from trying to eliminate each other, just in case. Today was the day that all 4 are to meet with the young woman, and being trapped in a room for a month was weighing on some nerves. Alright, in just a few hours I won't be trapped like I'm in a prison. I need to do something or I'll go nuts, screamed Rantu before he heard a knock at his door. Hey man, it's time to get going. It's 10 a.m. already and everyone is getting ready. They brought in formal clothes that were approved for the party in the common room, called out Santen through the unopened door. Alright, I'm going. You don't need to be so loud about it. And he was the one just screaming. Santen took off quickly to the common room to find what he was going to wear, with Rantu following a few minutes behind. Walking into the large room, there was complete chaos. The 3 other guys were throwing clothes about, each one arguing who was going to be with the maiden first. Dirty bastards, every time one person decided on a garment, the others would yell out that they saw it first, and would each grab a hold of it, tearing it in 3 ways. So far the children have torn 10 items, making them completely worthless, while the 4 servants hired to help them were all staring at their horrible behavior. One of the servants was even mumbling the master won't be pleased over and over again. Rantu then noticed an old woman just standing far from the mess, just shaking her head in disgust. Hey Basan, what's with the idiots? He asked, gesturing to the chaos, effectively snapping her out of her trance. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Are you the last of the circus? Obviously she wasn't pleased with the action going on in the room. Actually, by the looks of it, I'm the first of the civilized people. Do you think you could send for me when the morons are done? I prefer to wear undamaged clothing. I'll be in my room until then. Not really waiting for an answer, Rantu turned and left the room to return to his sleeping quarters, surprising the old lady by his selflessness, and immediately she knew he wasn't like the others. Moments after closing the door to his room he heard a knock and was quite surprised to see the old lady so soon. They done already? I thought it would be another 20 minutes at least. No, I'm afraid it isn't. Oh, I'm sorry, where are my manners? My name is Ishia, I'm the seamstress hired for this occasion. With a smile, she pulled a small package from behind her. I have one garment I kept aside to sell at my shop since it turned out so nicely, but since you seem to be well-mannered, I feel you just might be able to appreciate this more than the others. She pulled the garment from the package, revealing a gray, male formal, kimono with black and orange accented flames licking up the sides. I'm sure it is quite colorful, but I can only see in shades of gray, so I won't be able to appreciate it like I should. Nonsense, child, I think it will look perfect on you. You don't need to see colors to admire craftsmanship. Rantu took possession of the outfit, and bowed slightly to the lady in gratitude. With a matching bow, the lady left him to get dressed. It took the others another 30 minutes before they all had clothing and were dressed. At about noon, a Hyuga branch member arrived and escorted the 4 young men through the village to the Hyuga Manor. Hyuga Manor, Deck 27, 017 AK 12 to noon. Hinata-sama, it is almost time, are you ready? You can come in if you want, Niji and Ai-san. When he entered, he could only smile as he looked at his cousin. You look quite beautiful, Hinata-sama. Her dark blue hair flowed down her shoulders, stopping at about the middle of her back, showing off the contrast to her elegant white multi-layered kimono with lavender flowers printed along the hems of the outfit. Thank you, Niji and Ai-san. I guess I need to go now then, don't I? Hinata showed no emotion as she stood from her desk, making to leave her room. You aren't leaving here like that, are you? Hinata looked down in slight disappointment, thinking that something was wrong with her appearance, but then noticed what was in her arms. A deep blush formed on her face, and she embarrassingly squeaked and stuffed the journal into the nearby drawer. At least I know you are still inside that cold shell, Hinata-sama. Niji gently grabbed her arm and pulled her out of her room towards the party. She arrived at the top of the stairs leading down to where the party room was almost filled with people. Somehow the crowd quieted down when she arrived without anyone gesturing to do so. Everyone looked to her, except Rantu, waiting for the announcement. Announcing Miss Hyuga, heiress of the Hyuga clan. It is an honor for all of us to celebrate your 17th birthday with you, welcome. Hinata slightly bowed to the announcer, and gracefully descended the stairs with Niji still escorting her. Ni-san, I don't want to be here anymore. I can't marry without love, it feels wrong. She whispered in his ear, feeling very apprehensive of the situation. Well, just try to love one of them before you get married, alright? It isn't that simple. I poured all my love into another. I don't think there is anything left. Hinata-sama, you may be right, but you won't know until you at least try. Besides, you need to do this for the clan. I know, can you at least tell me anything about the guys then? She asked, trying to slow the descent down the stairs. I can tell you what I know. Hyzen is from water country. His skills of deception and stealth are the best of the village, and he is from the richest of non-bloodline clans. Ashton is the son of a daimyo of grass country, and it is unknown if he is even a ninja. Santen is the son of the current Setsukage. Currently he is classed as a special chunin, and it is unknown why he has never tried for jonin rank. The last is Rantu. Nothing is known of his past since he just appeared about 2 years ago with unusual talents. Currently he lives in Iwa with the Kage, but he wears a blank forehead protector showing allegiance to no village. He is only declared a noble of Iwa because he is an elemental master of wind, and elemental masters are considered as such by their laws. That isn't much to go on. How am I supposed to choose one in a month? You could always let your friends choose for you, they may be able to pick out the best. I don't know, something just doesn't feel. Hinata couldn't finish her sentence since her father cut in. Hinata, you should stop wasting your time here. You should go meet with your suitors and spend some time with them since you will be marrying one of them, understood? He basically commanded. Yes, father. Hinata slowly made her way to where the suitors were located, leaving Hayashi to bask in his devious scheme. Good luck, Hinata. 3 perverts and an emotionless wind master. I was expecting 2 perverts, but this should be absolute torture for you to find a husband, and then you'll never bear a child with the bloodline. Hey Rantu, did you get a load of her? She is so hot. To think one of us is going to get that. Man, even if I don't get her in the end, I'll at least get a piece of that. What about you, buddy? Santen looked over to his friend who wasn't paying any attention. Huh? You say something, Santen? I was just meditating. I just want to get out of here. Do you think they would allow me to leave before the month is up? Are you crazy? Do you even know what she looks like? Nope, nor do I really care. Well, you should. She's coming this way. We should go meet her, bro. Nah, I'm good here. You go and do whatever it is you do, Rantu suggested as he waved him off. Dude, I really wonder if you even like girls. Santen got no response from him as he was back into meditation. Shrugging it off, he ran to join the rest of the guys for introductions. Miss Hyuga, it is a privilege and an honor to meet such a beautiful maiden. Taking her hand and kissing it, he introduced himself. My name is Hozenki Ashton. Thank you for the compliment. Hinata forced a smile and moved to the next guy who was going to try and outdo the first. Miss Hyuga-sama, I am pleased and humbled to be in the presence of such beauty. He snaps his fingers and a bouquet of flowers appear. My name is Chimera Hyzen, and these are for you. She accepts the flowers with a small smile. Thank you, Hyzen-san, the flowers are quite elegant. She said almost robotically. Miss Hyuga-sama, I too am honored to lay eyes on such a beautiful woman. You truly outshine all the others with your elegance. My name is Yoshiro Santen. Your compliments are well received, Santan-san. She forced another smile, but it was much harder since she was irritated since every word the three said had some sort of lie in them. She didn't have much time to do anything before the three pulled her to a nearby couch and started talking about themselves to impress her. Please note that none of the guys know her first name and just refer to her as Miss Hyuga. Hinata was there for maybe an hour just politely nodding her head and trying to smile, all the while brushing their hands off her legs and shoulders. What is wrong with these guys? I've only met them an hour ago and they already are trying to make passes at me. What do they really expect? Hinata shuddered when she thought about what exactly they wanted and was equally disgusted. These three are weirding me out. Wait, three? Where's the other one? Excuse me guys, I need to go freshen up a bit. Hinata stood up and quickly left the uncomfortable situation she was in to look for Niji, who she found easily. Niji and Ai-san, are all of them here? I've only met three and they are all jerks. If the last isn't any better I will kill them all myself. Really? They were all here earlier. Which one haven't you met yet? I believe it is that Rantu guy. Well, you had better go meet him before the party ends or your father will be quite upset. Niji surveyed the party until he found the person. He is the one over there with the gray outfit with the flames. Hinata gave a slight nod before she followed his gesture to find the last guy. She found her target sitting in a chair facing away from the party, obviously uninterested. She decided to go and make her presence known to him, at least so she has met them all. Excuse me, sir. She quietly said to him while his back was turned to her. No thank you. I don't need any refreshments. He replied without opening his eyes. This of course caused some anger from the young Hyuga. With more authority in her voice she spoke again. I would like to thank you for traveling so far at my father's request. Her new statement made him realize just who he mistook for a servant. Quickly standing and facing where her voice was, he started an apology. I'm sorry I didn't. He stopped speaking the moment he saw her. He stared into her eyes and managed to bring a blush to her face from the attention, but he didn't notice the red color he saw. Wait, he's making me blush? No one has that power over me anymore. Maybe I'm getting sick. She thought before pushing it away and speaking. Is there something wrong with my appearance? You seem to be staring at me. Her question snapped him back into reality. Sorry, my apologies, Hinata-sama. I just got lost in those pale lavender eyes of yours. Oh, and that dark silky blue hair, he thought until something just hit him. He could see her in complete color. Hinata saw he was still staring but had a surprised look now on his face. Is there a pee problem, Arantu-san? Hinata was angry at herself. First she was blushing around him, and now she's back to stuttering. She was completely stumped why this guy would bring about those actions that were always attributed to her one love. She couldn't possibly be feeling something for this guy already, could she? Her thoughts on this were brought to a close when he spoke again. Hinata-sama, are you alright? You seem to be awfully red. Before she could answer, Hayashi, who was eavesdropping, interrupted them with an angry face. Rantu-san, have you ever seen or talked to my daughter before? He asked, clearly livid by his tone. No, Lord Hyuga, I haven't ever seen or talked to Hinata before. Then how did you know her name? She isn't allowed to speak her name on this day, and it was to remain a secret until the official courting starts tomorrow. I don't really know why I knew her name. When she just appeared, my mind saw her, and her name just popped into my head, but I have never seen her before. Hayashi sensed no trace of a lie, and no one has fooled his eyes, so Hayashi just accepted it, and walked away from them. Rantu looked over to where the other three suitors were, and noticed their angered faces staring at them. Hinata-sama, I believe you should probably go back to those three idiots. They look quite unhappy that I've been occupying your time by myself. Well, you could accompany me over there. You have just as much right to my attention as they do. She actually smiled a genuine smile after her statement. That is quite alright, I seem to have quite the headache coming on. I'll need to meditate a bit before I can handle those morons. We will talk again, beautiful. Rantu sat back down while a blush came to her face again from his kind words. She reluctantly left him to his meditation and returned to the three vultures. Damn, how is she in color? I've never seen color. More so is why do I keep seeing her in my mind? Why can't I get her out of my head? Her kind eyes, elegant face, her soft supple hey. Get a hold of yourself. I need to figure this out. She may be a part of my forgotten life, and that is why I see her in color, and why I felt something weird inside me. Rantu continued meditating on that for the rest of the party while Hinata was having difficulty of her own since she was trying to devise a plan to kill three guys without anyone finding out. She was beyond relieved when the party was over, but it was short-lasting as the five of them were escorted to a private room to speak with Hayashi and two of the clan elders. I have asked you all here so we may discuss the parameters of this betrothal. In a way it will be a contest. You will each have an equal amount of minimum time with her, but she may request a smaller meeting after each day for whatever she wants. At any time throughout the month, she may choose her husband, but at the end of the month if she hasn't chosen yet, she will be forced to do so. You will each draw numbers for what time frame you get to take her out. The times are 9 a.m. to noon, noon to 3 p.m., 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., and 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Hinata was pissed that her entire day was taken, leaving no time to train or anything, but there was little she could do. The numbers were all drawn and the results were Hyzen number 2, Santen number 1, Ashton number 3, and Rantu was left with number 4. Since that is all settled, you will all bid my daughter good night, and you will then be shown to your rooms for the remainder of your stay. You will be living here in the manor, so we can keep an eye on you." When Hayashi finished, he and the elders left the room, leaving the five alone. Seeing an opportunity to leave a lasting impression, 3 of the 4 surrounded the heiress, saying how beautiful she was and how they will think of her while they sleep and how they look forward to their date tomorrow. They each said about the same thing and left the room, leaving Rantu and Hinata alone for a spell. "I'm sorry for the idiots. I hope they didn't cause too much discomfort. Sleep well, Hinata-sama. I'd wish you a happy birthday, but after seeing those idiots it would be a waste. Arenta-san, thank you, but see, could you not call me Sama? We are equal status," she stuttered out while blushing. "Of course, Hinata-chan." Rantu left the room and was escorted to his sleeping quarters, leaving the dark-haired girl many questions and a steady blush. Why do I stutter around him? I'm acting like I did around Naruto, and he even brings out those feeling in me again. He can't possibly replace him, but it just feels so weird, almost like it is him. It's only 8:30, Sakura will still be awake, I can ask her for some advice. Hinata took off out of the complex to seek out her answers elsewhere. Santon caught up with Rantu, even though he left earlier, outside of his room in the branch house. "Hey bro, you see now? Man, she is a looker. If she is half as good in bed as she looks, I'll be in heaven. Don't get your hopes up. She doesn't seem to be one to behave in that manner. Ah, come on man, you know I always tell you the best way to a woman's heart is through the bedroom. Remember it, it is good advice. Santen, were you dropped on your head when you were young?" Santen didn't have time to reply since the Windmaster was gone in an instant. Deck 27, 017 AK, 9:30 p.m., same day as Hinata's party. Dragging herself down the street outside the Konoha hospital, a certain pink-haired medic was making her way home after a hard day's work of healing. She was thinking she was so tired that she started hearing things until she heard the sound again. "Sakura-san," called a quiet voice. Knowing it wasn't her imagination, she perked up and turned to the source of the voice. Oh, Hinata. Sakura was surprised to see her usual cold exterior absent, replaced with a small smile. "What's wrong? We're right with you? I haven't seen you smiling in years." "Huh, what? I'm smiling?" the Hyuga asked, surprised by this. "Yes you are, and you might even be happy." Before Sakura could continue what she was going to say, she was interrupted. "I desperately need to talk to you," Hinata blurted out borderline excitedly. "Really now, what about?" "Well, it's some feelings and stuff," she replied quietly. "Oh, we should go to my house." With a quick nod, the two silently walked to Sakura's house. Entering the house, Sakura immediately set into making some tea to soothe them. After sitting back down with the tea, Sakura started her questioning. "So Hinata, how did your party go?" "That is what I wanted to talk to you about. No one took advantage of you, right?" "Well, not exactly," but Hinata started out with but was preempted. "What do you mean by not exactly?" "I'll kill them all if they touched you improperly." "Quiet, Sakura, you could wake the whole village." Sakura counted back from 10, trying to calm herself to continue the conversation. 3 of the guys father brought in are complete jerks. They continually made passes at me. It was like having 3 Jiraiya around me for the night. Sakura cringed at that image while Hinata took a sip of her tea and continued her story. "But that isn't why I wanted to talk to you. What exactly did you want to talk to me about?" Sakura asked, setting down her cup. "What do you know about the guy Rantu?" "Huh, Rantu?" "Yes, the Windmaster from IWA father sent for. I'm pretty sure you have overheard the Hokage talking about him during your training." "Well, I might know something. Why do you ask?" Sakura smiled, knowing that was the source of her problem, and why she was smiling. "Well, I know nothing about him. He stays quiet and secluded from the others." "Is he handsome?" Hinata didn't say anything as a blush arrived on her face, answering her question. "I see, so that is why you want to talk." Nodding in confirmation, Hinata started to talk again. "He seems so kind, but the problem I have is when I'm around him I blush and stutter like I would around him. I'm so confused now. When I look at Rantu he stirs up feelings I only had for him. I don't know if my feelings are truly for this guy or if he just reminds me of Naruto. It's so confusing." Hinata shrank back into her chair, drinking her tea. "I see. What would you do if those feelings are directed for him?" "I really don't know, Sakura. If I can prove to you that those feelings are indeed for this Rantu guy, will you promise to grab a hold of that feeling and never let it go like the last one?" Hinata shed a few tears for the comment and thought about it for a while. "I promise I will." With a sinister smile, Sakura grabbed Hinata's arm and pulled her to the door. "Come on, we're going to Ino's." "But why?" "She can see your feelings and memories, so she can see where your feelings are directed." Hinata squeaked as she was yanked out the door and down the street a few blocks, stopping outside Ino's house. Sakura started throwing rocks at her window until a light turned on. "Hey Ino pig, wake up. Shut forehead. I'm trying to sleep," she called back and turned off the light again. "It's Hinata that needs help, pig." They heard just silence until the front door flung open, revealing the long-haired blonde. "Well, why didn't you say so? Get in here, you two, it's cold out here." Hurrying inside and closing the door, the 3 sat down and discussed the previous conversation. "So let me get this straight, you would like information on your Windmaster, and you want to make sure what you feel is for him, right?" "Basically," replied Hinata while Sakura smiled next to her. "Well, my guess is that you know almost as much about him as he does." Sakura and Hinata looked confused at this until Ino explained. You see, he has no memories except for the past 2 years, which is all training and fighting. But something else that is weird is he is completely colorblind. Hinata was surprised at that statement. Are you sure? He made a comment about the color of my eyes. He said they were slightly lavender. And what else are you hiding? That is strange. Everything was black and white last time I was in his mind. But apparently I can't hide anything from you in his mind. The memory rooms aren't there. Even when a person has amnesia, the rooms still exist, the memories are just darkened. From what I see, he may not be able to feel anything like happiness and love, but that is still all speculation. What does that mean? Asked Sakura. Well, I think that until he gains those rooms back he can have feelings. Basically it means he is emotionless. But how can we get them back? Asked a worried Hyuga. I don't know, but I'll need to check him again to see if any progress was made in that area. Until then, Ino put on an evil smile. Let's see where your feelings point. Before Hinata could protest, Ino grabbed Sakura's hand and all 3 of the girls slumped back in their chairs. The room was absolutely beautiful, if you could call it a room. Her intelligence was displayed in the vast openness of the flowery meadow with large trees lining the edges of the space. The most massive of the trees contained the doors into the rooms of emotion-related memories. Ino Pig. Where the hell are we? Easy forehead, this is Hinata's mindscape, the representation of her memories and feelings. As you can see, she has the most calming mind created by her gentleness. Well, yeah, but since when could you bring another person here with you? I learned it about half a year ago. Anyways, since all minds usually have the same setup, I'll be your guide tour. Normal memories are found in the flowers in this field. You just touch one and it opens into a file cabinet. The specific memories are in the rooms behind those doors in the trees. We will be going to her love door over there. What is that fancy door next to it? Sakura asked while Ino led her to the door. That would be the rarest of all special rooms, a room containing memories of a soul mate. From what I have seen, Hinata is the only one in Konoha that has one of these rooms. Of course, inside this room are all the memories she has shared with Naruto. So all we need to do is go into her love room and see if this Rantu guy is in there? That's the simple way to look at it. The 2 kunoichi stepped into the room, that was nearly identical to the larger one with the multicolored flowers, and immediately started searching through the memories. From the memories they found, it appears as though the feeling of love hasn't been felt by her in quite some time, but the search for anything of Rantu came up empty. Well, I guess she really doesn't love him. Ino was about to leave, but Sakura, being the nosy one, decided to stop her. Say, Ino, have you ever wondered what exactly Hinata saw in him? You know, forehead, I've wondered that myself. Care to check it out, our little secret? The blonde replied with a smug grin. You're on. They entered the room and found a lush meadow like before, but the sun was at the point in the sky where an orange hue was cast about the field and all the flowers were yellow. Well, I guess for her orange is the color of love from who she loved. I guess that is fitting. Sakura commented. They went in and the first file they opened contained the first memory Hinata had of the blonde boy. Naruto, about 7 years old. The memory faded into a young blonde kid running. As he ran, he continually looked behind him until he ended up in a quiet park and sat down to rest. Noticing the intrusion, a pale-eyed girl stared at the boy with her cheeks flushing. Hinata-sama, what is it? Asked her Hyuga guard, ignoring her staring and the slight blush on her face. The guard of about 30 years old surveyed the area and saw the blonde boy and moved towards him laced with anger. You demon brat! You have no right to be here! The Hyuga charged forward, striking the young boy with the juk and knocking him to the ground, causing the 2 memory viewers to flinch. I've taken care of the intruder, he shouldn't be bothering us ever again. The old Hyuga announced as he dusted off his hands and returned to the now crying girl. Why? She cried out. He scared you, now he won't be bothering a single person again. Satisfied, the Hyuga guard picked up the bawling girl and carried her off. Suddenly a shout was heard from behind. Hey, you white-eyed bastard, go screw yourself. When I become Hokage, you'll be sorry. The small blonde took off running, leaving a small girl smiling widely still with tears on her cheeks. That bastard tried to kill him, he was barely 7. Screamed Sakura. Sakura, it didn't look like he tried. For a moment I think he was dead. Let's see if we can find something a bit happier. You look to the left, I'll look to the right. After searching through a few thousand memories, Sakura called out from the other side of the room. Hey Ino! Do you think Hinata was a stalker? Since she started at the academy, she knows everything that happened to him and even followed him home many times. No, this is Hinata we're talking about. I bet she was just trying to build up the courage to talk to him. Yeah, I suppose you're right. A few moments later, Ino called out for Sakura to look at what she found. Hey Sakura, I think I found something that isn't supposed to happen. The Wind Master guy is in this room. 2 people can't share a room like this. Sakura stopped what she was doing and ran to Ino's side. What does that mean then? Sakura asked. Well, I guess it means that she loves him like she did Naruto. And I mean exactly like him. This shouldn't happen. I need to ask my parents about this. It should be impossible. Ino, finding what she came for, released the jutsu and the 3 returned to consciousness minutes later. Well, Hinata, it looks like you do have feelings for this guy. Shouted Ino happily. Yep, looks like you can't let this one slip through your fingers like you promised. Sure, thanks. Hinata stood to leave with her messed up feelings, and just before she made it out the door, Ino called out. Hinata, make sure you bring Rantu by the Hokage Tower sometime soon for a follow-up exam. Hinata acknowledged her with a small wave and went on her way to her home. Konoha, December 28, 017 AK, the dates. This day was pure torture for the young heiress. Santan started off the day with a bouquet of lilies and breakfast at an expensive restaurant, followed by a short walk through the local park where he accidentally grabbed her backside. Hizen took her out to an elegant restaurant for lunch, had a nice chat, and followed up by him trying to steal a kiss from her only to receive a fist to the face, shortening his conscious time with her. Then Ashton followed that up with taking her out to dinner at another expensive restaurant, a stroll through the city, and then walked her back to the Hyuga Manor, but ended up tripping on something and went to steady himself by grabbing her shoulder, but got a nice large handful of something else when he missed. Hinata was pissed and wanted the day to end, but she knew she had one more date that might be better. Let's kill all those bastards. Why did I have to promise you, Naruto-kun? It would have been easier to just disappear. Her thoughts were knocked out when she bumped into her next date. Sorry, I guess you're ready for your date. She spoke out, not being very excited anymore. Oh, it's that time already? I guess I just lost time waiting for you. He replied. You were waiting for me? She asked, blushing uncontrollably. Yeah, I guess I was. For some reason I couldn't get you out of my mind. But what has you so preoccupied? Well, I was just thinking about someone. She replied sadly. I don't want to pry, but can you talk about him? What makes you certain it's a him? She defended quickly. Easy, I saw it in your eyes. I see. I will tell you if you tell me one secret about you that I don't know, and I know quite a bit from talking with Ino. Rantu thought about it for a moment. Well, I guess you drive a hard bargain. You will make a perfect clan head. Thank you. Now about that secret of yours. The two of them walked out of the manor and out into the streets as they continued their conversation. Well, since you talked to Ino, you know everything I know except for what I just found out. I believe you may be the key to my past. Is this a line or something? Hinata asked with empty emotions. No, what I mean is that I can't see any colors, but for some reason you are in full color. I can't tell you what color anything is around me, but I can tell you the color of everything you're wearing and the color of your hair. Well, I believe that you are colorblind from talking to Ino, but I have yet to believe that you can see me in color. You could have gotten details from your buddies, but I can test that with something I'm sure no one saw. Hinata pulls the neck of her shirt down over her shoulder, exposing her bra strap. Now then, if you can see me in color, what color is my bra? For a moment he was speechless from her bold action. It is pale lavender like your eyes, he replied with a blush matching hers. I will believe you for now, but you will need to come to the Hokage Tower tomorrow for a follow-up exam, and if I find you lied to me, you'll regret it. Anyways, I guess you earned your information. Her smile turned grim as she told him of her sorrow. His name was Naruto. He was very proud and determined, but still held a sadness in his eyes when he wore a huge smile. His dream was to become the Hokage and be acknowledged by the village. He had the kindest heart, and would do anything, even die, for the very people that caused his sadness. Within him was a power so great that if he were to choose it, it would destroy this entire village and probably the known world. But he kept it tamed within. He should have been considered a hero, but instead people hated him for the power he held. Even from all his prosecution he managed to brighten the lives of the few that bothered to know him. I believe he was my soulmate, but I only managed to love him from afar. I never got to tell him how much I loved him before he died, bringing one of his few friends back to the village. Once again Hinata's tears flowed from her eyes, having to remember those details again. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked, but I think I know exactly what you need for today. You're a ninja, right? He asked as he uncontrollably wiped some of her tears away. Why yes, I'm a chunin. She pushed out through her tears and the now forming blush. That is perfect. I'm sure you've been irritated by those jackasses, so how about a spar to clear your head? He asked with a small smile. I don't want to spoil your plans for the night, she mentioned as she was trying to hide the excitement from a good spar. That's okay, I had no plans. I usually plan on the go, so this is the plan now. I guess it is okay, I needed to train anyways. Hinata led Rantu to her favorite training spot for their spar to commence. They arrived and Hinata immediately got into a fighting stance and waited for Rantu to as well, but was confused when he took no stance. I'm ready, Hinata, he called out, showing that this was his fighting stance. They both started to feel each other out, throwing small hits and punches, starting their warm-up. They increased their speed and power of the strikes bit by bit to get fully ready to begin the real match. Feeling fully loosened up, it was now time to get serious. Hinata, if you're ready, I think you should activate your Byakugan so we can really begin. Do you really think you are that good? Don't underestimate me, Byakugan. Her eyes tuned glassy as her veins bulged on her face, signifying the activation of her dojutsu. She is so scary and pretty at the same time with those eyes, he thought before forcing that back in his mind. No, I wasn't underestimating you. I just thought I should warn you before I do this. Rantu moved so quickly he even vanished from Hinata's sight until she felt someone tapping on her shoulder, hiding in her blind spot. How? No one knows of that weakness outside of the clan and a few others. She pondered out loud. Got me. I just knew it was a weak spot, but how I don't know. Anyways, are you just going to stand there or are you going to attack? With his new speed he disappeared again and threw out a flurry of punches and was amazed at the increase of speed and agility she was now displaying. His hands started feeling numb from the glancing blows until it hit him. The Jukin. I need to stay away from her hands. Hint. He never studied Hyuga techniques, but knew of the Jukin and the blind spot by coincidence. Rantu ducked and dodged each strike she threw and countered when he could. He is just as unpredictable as Naruto was in his fighting, but he is much faster. Amazing. Hinata almost got a kick to her head before she snapped out of her thoughts to dodge. You are awesome, Hinata. How are you with deflecting chakra weapons? He called out from a safe distance. What he got in return was a smile saying bring it on. Rantu took out his hilt and channeled chakra into it, bringing forth a translucent katana blade. Rantu inspected the blade in slight amazement. My blade has never taken such a refined form. It's almost perfect. Rantu charged forward with a downward slash, making sure it wasn't going to contact the girl. Hinata dodged the attack, but managed to be flown through the air. Her Byakugan showed her that she wasn't thrown into the air by only chakra, but by a large concentration of wind-infused chakra. With the next horizontal slash Rantu made, Hinata took her hand, filled with chakra, and grabbed the blade, stopping it completely. Now what, Rantu? She asked in a sweet, almost flirtatious voice as she brought her other hand around to knock him out. Hinata felt the chakra blade disappear and Rantu ducked underneath her strike and jumped back to a safe distance. I guess I can go full force on you then. You will be the first opponent to live past seeing my blades. Rantu divided his hilt and pushed his chakra into them, bringing out his twin blades in the new katana form. Rantu charged forward, rapidly slashing with each sword in unpredictable fashion, also known as crazy, but controlled crazy. Hinata barely dodged each attack until a blast of wind struck her midsection, sending her flying safely through the air. This time around she full expected the attack and recovered quickly as she landed softly on the ground. You'll have to do better than that to keep me down, she panted. Alright, but don't say I didn't warn you. Rantu pushed extreme amounts of chakra into the swords, getting Hinata's eyes to widen when she saw the sheer amount of it pulsating within in the sword. Crap, that's too much chakra, Hinata thought as the blades came at her full force. Extreme Gale Rantu's blades came at her with him smiling, seeing her stance, and knew the defense she was executing. Shugohaku Rokujian Sho, protection of 8 trigrams, 64 hands. Hinata expelled her chakra into a fine web of concentrated energy, completely stopping the forward slash. The momentum change was enough to send Rantu off balance, creating a perfect opening for Hinata to strike. You are in range. Hack Rokujian Sho, 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Hinata's hands moved like lightning, striking and closing each tenketsu she aimed for. Rantu's blade dispersed as he took a knee from her, closing down his chakra. I did underestimate you. For some reason I didn't expect that attack to come from you, almost like I have seen the attack but didn't know you could do it. Rantu coughed up a bit of blood and fell face forward. Hinata ran up to him, apologizing profusely as she started healing his body. I'm sorry, Hinata. I should have expected that attack. You are the Hyuga heir. It was my fault. But how could it be your fault? You shouldn't have known any of my attacks. I don't really know how, but I've seen all those attacks and know what they do. It is just like how I knew your name. Hinata smiled at his explanation and finished her healing. There, you should be all healed now. If that's so, then why can't I move my arms? They hurt like hell. Hinata immediately reactivated the Byakugan and saw the muscles in his arms that got damaged by her attack from her chakra bursting out of his back, showing she used more chakra than necessary to close each point. I'm sorry, it looks like I damaged your muscles with my attack. I used too much chakra in them. I could probably fix it if you want me to. Hinata started to blush, knowing what she needed to do to heal him. Sure, that sounds great, but why are you blushing? Well, I guess it is because your shirt needs to be off, and since you can't do it, I'll have to remove it. Don't worry, I won't tell, was his simple response with a smile. Gulping slightly, Hinata caringly pulled on the hem of his shirt, pushing it up as far as it would go until having to move his arms. She gingerly moved his arms upwards, getting a slight groan of pain from the movement. She pulled his shirt off and realized her own outer shirt, that was shredded, was getting in the way, so she removed that as well, leaving her in a thin white t-shirt. It's not like I don't enjoy your little strip show there, but my arms really hurt where they are. Hinata immediately turned red and hurried back to him and moved his arms back down by his sides. She then proceeded to straddle his waist and sat herself down on his body. He's face down, remember pervs? This may tingle a bit, Rantu-kun. She warned him before starting a small healing jutsu and began massaging his shoulders, easing the pain away with each relaxing second. The chakra healed the tissues while the physical stimulation increases the blood flow to the area, speeding the healing process. So then, Hinata, how long should it take? He asked, feeling fully relaxed under her touch. Why does it still hurt? No, I just really like it, he replied while blushing himself. Well, it usually should be done by now, but maybe I hurt you worse than I thought I did. I should probably keep it up for a while longer. Hinata smiled shyly with the blush still on her face. No, I definitely won't let this feeling leave me again, she thought while she continued her massage of the Wind Master's back. They talked into the night until she felt his body fall into a steady rhythm of sleep. We weren't out here that long, were we? I should be getting low on chakra, so why am I not? Her jutsu faded and Hinata fell asleep lying on the Wind Master's bare back. Konoha, December 29th, 017 AK, early morning. It was unusually warm morning as the sun peeked up above the horizon, casting its warming glow upon the village below. Hey Akamaru, let's see if Hinata is out training early this morning. We haven't seen her in a while, announced Kiba loudly as he walked out his door heading to the training grounds. Kiba, with Akamaru by his side, ran to where Hinata does her training. When he finally arrived, he was surprised as well as angered at what he saw. There was this strange guy, shirtless, with a half-dressed Hinata lying on top of him trying to snuggle in closer. Hey bastard! How dare you take advantage of Hinata like that? What have you done to her? Kiba shouted, causing Rantu to wake up slightly. Shut it, dog boy, I'm trying to sleep here, came Rantu's groggy reply. Just then he realized it was slightly harder to breathe due to a pressure on his back. He was relieved when he remembered last night, and that it was Hinata lying on his back. Naruto-kun, she mumbled, slightly awake from his movement. No, I'm sorry sweetie, this is Rantu. It's okay Rantu-kun, you'll do. She responded back, trying to snuggle deeper into his back. What the hell? Shouted Kiba, being disgusted by this. Hey moron, it's almost 8 in the morning, some people may want to use these training grounds. Crap, it's 8 already? I guess it's time to wake up then. Rantu reaches back as best he can and starts to lightly shake her soft arm. Hey Hinata, it's time to wake up angel. Just a little longer please. She begged in response to his voice. Sorry Hinata-chan, but some guy and his dog wants to use the training ground we're on. Gasping, Hinata bolted to her feet. Kiba-kun, she blurted out in surprise. Hey Hinata, what's with the guy? Won't your father get angry if you're with a strange guy? Actually, I could have been caught doing much more with him and father wouldn't have cared. Hinata blushed dark red, realizing what she implied. This is Rantu-kun, he is someone brought in for my arranged marriage. You'll probably see more of him. It's okay. It was never my business anyways. I was just checking to see how you're doing. I'll leave you two alone. That isn't necessary Kiba-kun, we were just leaving, and I'm getting hungry anyways. Rantu, with his shirt back on, approached Hinata and hands over what was left of her shirt. Hinata-chan, you should probably head back home. Your 9 o'clock will probably be waiting. Rantu stated with a slightly down voice. With a sweet smile, Hinata turned to him. As far as I'm concerned, all my appointments have been cancelled. Hinata grabs her shirt and throws it on. Rantu-kun, would you like to accompany me to breakfast? Sure Hinata-chan, but you may need a different shirt than that one. She inspects her torn clothing and has to agree. You're right, let's go to Sakura's house. I want to avoid those other 3 for now. Hinata grabbed Rantu's arm and pulled him off in the direction of Sakura's house. Now being drugged around the village wouldn't be his first choice for morning exercises, but he seemed content being drugged around by an angel, well maybe for a little while. Angel, do you think you can tell me where you're taking me so I can walk on my own? Sorry Rantu-kun, I just got carried away. Hinata stopped and let go of his arm. Rantu-kun, why do you call me angel? You know, that is a good question. It might be because I feel calmed by your presence, or it could be because you look as good as one. Hinata was smiling and blushing at his statement, and grabbed his arm and tugged him along further to her destination. I want to avoid dating losers, so I'm taking you around the village today. Well, if you wanted to get away from dating, then why are you bringing me along? I said I wanted to get away from dating losers, now come on. She ordered as she dragged him along faster. You don't need to drag me angel, I can walk. Oh sorry. Hinata lets go of his arm disappointedly, but finds his hand appearing in hers, intertwining with her fingers, bringing a bright smile to her face. Now angel, do I really need to be drugged, or can I walk? And if you wanted to go faster you just had to ask. Rantu tightened his grip on her hand and jumped to the closest roof, top pulling her up with him. Lead the way angel. Hinata took off, with Rantu in tow, sprinting across the rooftops to Sakura's. They arrived in moments, and proceeded to knock on the door. Sakura stepped out on the porch, and quickly closed the door behind her in attempt to hide something. Hinata, what a surprise. What can I do for you? Hinata didn't miss the quick shutting of the door. He's in there isn't he? She asked with a hint of anger. Yes, I invited Sasuke-kun over for breakfast. People tend to do that with their boyfriends. Well, I think I can tolerate him for a while. All I need is a change of clothes and I don't want to go back to the manor yet. Okay, I should have just the thing for you. Just then Sakura noticed Hinata's hand in some guise. So Hinata, are you going to introduce him? The two quickly released each other's hands and blushed slightly. Sakura, this is Rantu-kun. He is my date for the day. She told her while trying to quell the blush from coming. Nice to meet you Rantu, you guys can come in for a while, but no fighting. Sakura gave a pointed glare to Hinata and let them into the house. Upon entering, Sasuke put on his usual acting and smirked seeing Hinata walking in with a guy. See, I told you that you would get over him, and you did. Sakura had to try with all her might to hold Hinata back after those words were said. I can never get over him. I'm just following his wishes by trying to lead some sort of life, so go screw yourself. She shouted to the Uchiha bastard. Rantu, can you hold back your girlfriend before she kills someone? Well, I would, but for some unknown reason, I want to see her bash his face in. But since it may damage your home, I'll try. Rantu stepped in front of the irate girl and held her shoulders firm, staring into her eyes. Hinata-chan, calm down angel. The quicker you ignore him the quicker we can leave. She seemed to calm down enough with his presence that Sakura was able to pull her into her room to get the clothes, leaving Sasuke alone with Rantu. Sasuke is it? I would suggest you keep quiet around Hinata. I will keep her from killing you, but not from crippling you. Even I feel like doing you harm for those careless words you spoke. Ha, that's a joke. You're just as weak and worthless as she is. What could you possibly do to me? Sasuke never even saw the movement until he felt two sharp edges of chakra pressing up against his neck. He was astonished at his speed and began to sweat seeing the two chakra swords crossing in front of his neck. Sakura and Hinata came back out into the room. Hinata was peering around the door frame trying to hide herself from view, after hearing the commotion just to find Sasuke being held at knife point. Sasuke-kun! Sakura gasped as she ran forward. Hey asshole! Who said you could come into my house and threaten my guest? I was just answering a challenge. Rantu leaned forward and whispered to Sasuke, remember, Hinata is just as fast as I am, so if you want to keep your life, keep your mouth shut around her. Rantu removed the swords and deactivated them while placing them away again. My apologies Sakura-san, it was very unprofessional of me to be that aggressive. Rantu saw Hinata hiding behind the door frame and smiled to her. You ready to go, Angel? She nodded and shyly stepped out revealing a low-cut light blue shirt and black skin-tight capri-style pants. Sakura, do you have a jacket or something? This seems a little revealing. Sakura looked at her, and then looked at the dazed look on Rantu as he looked at Hinata. Getting an evil smile, she decided to ask Rantu a question. So Rantu, what do you think of Hinata's clothes? He was still staring at her form, but that question snapped him out of it. You look gorgeous Hinata-chan. Sakura was still smiling evilly and grabbed the two and pushed them out the door. It's settled then, you two have fun now. Sakura ran back into the house closing the door behind her. Hinata was slightly embarrassed at being so revealing, but that passed as she felt a hand grabbing hold of hers and a surprised look crossed her face. Rantu looked at her smiling visage and smiled. What? It just felt right before. Hinata smiled and squeezed his hand. As they stepped away from the door they heard what could be the best sound in the world. Sasuke, you arrogant jerk. How many times must I tell you to not say anything to her? The screaming stopped as crashing sounds and male whimpering was heard. I guess she accepted my apology then. Rantu received a smile and a nod from Hinata and they set out to find breakfast. After a relatively quiet meal, where they were trying to watch the other without being caught, Hinata decided to lead him to the Hokage Tower to take care of his follow-up exam. They were ushered into the office and found Ino, along with a close facsimile, being her mother. We have been expecting you, please sit, we'll start momentarily. Tsunade stated with a smile seeing the two holding hands. So Ino, why is your mother here? Hinata asked in curiosity. Well, Mom is here to evaluate my proficiency in the jutsu, so she will be going with me into Ranta's mind. She may not have the Yamanaka ability, but there is no other person around with better knowledge of interpreting slight differences in minds. Hopefully we might find something new as well. She told her hiding the fact that she needed a second opinion on the Windmaster's mind. Ino, we are ready to continue. You may proceed, commanded Tsunade. Ino sat Rantu down into a chair and did her jutsu bringing both her mother and herself into his mind. Everything went black for a while before shadows started to appear showing the dark room from before, but something was really off from last time. The filing cabinets in the center of the room were surrounded by shadowy papers flying in absolute chaos. The places where the main rooms for love, anger, happiness, and sadness were visible, but were shadows of what they should have been. At least they made a showing now, but the thing that stood out the most was the giant and elegant lavender door at the far corner. What is going on here? Ino asked no one in particular. This is completely different than the last time I was here. His mind is in great turmoil, and it is trying to fix itself. I believe the cause may be due to whatever that door leads to. Her mother figured. Ino gave no reply as she walked towards the door. When they got close to the door they noticed there was a girl crying with her head in her knees hugging herself tightly. Ino thought she looked extremely familiar when they got closer. When they were within a few feet from her the girl she looked at them with her pale pupil-less eyes. Hinata? Gasped Ino before her mother took over. What is wrong, child? Why are you crying? Sniffling back her tears the girl answered. I'm trying to get into my room but it is locked. What makes you say that this is your room? How did you get here? Asked Ino getting out of her shock. I don't know how I got here, but the moment I did, all those dark thingies started to go crazy and then a box appeared in my hands and some guy told me to go to my room but it won't open. Could I see the box? She offered up the box without a word and Ino began shuffling through it seeing all the memories of Hinata that Rantu had in the past few days. So you say a guy told you to go here? Where is he now? He is standing behind you. Ino and her mother jumped as they saw the presence of a dark shadowy person looking at them with piercing blue eyes. Who are you? Ino asked the shadow. I am the keeper. He replied in a dark monotone voice. The keeper of what? Keeper of memories. If you're the keeper of memories, then why is she here all alone? She is here because this is where the others that look like her went. Just her presence here is disturbing the shadows. What do you mean by others? And what are the shadows? Before the shadows came ones looking like her came freely into here and moving into the big door there, and the shadow door next to it. I don't remember how everything looks, so I'm trying my best to categorize the shadows, but I need the doors to open so I can do that correctly. Until the shadow door next to hers opens, she will be trapped here. So what are the shadows then? You haven't answered that, but I also need to know what the name of the room she belongs in. The shadows are the memories that turned black when the doors spilled their contents, and most disappeared. As for the door, the room of love needs to open for her to enter the soulmate room. When did she start going there? Ino asked, completely surprised that there was yet another person with a room like Hinata has. Time doesn't exist here, so I have no idea, but it was long before the shadows came. Unfortunately, I must get going and you must leave. The shadow figure thrust his palms forward, throwing the travelers from the mind back into their bodies without the jutsu being cancelled. Groggily, Ino and her mother regained consciousness minutes after being released. Ow, that was painful, Ino muttered, coming from her unconsciousness. Painful? Yes, his mind is beyond strong, but it wasn't his, replied Ino's mother, which started to scare Hinata. Ino, what's wrong? Is there something wrong with Rantu-kun? She called out, worried for him. No, but his mind is reacting strangely to your presence. Ino replied. What do you mean? Well, it would seem as though his mind is trying to recreate itself around the idea that he knew you before losing his memory. I don't exactly know what that means, but his mind is in chaos trying to find the memories to piece together the reason for you. He should be fine, but I wouldn't expect heavy thinking from him for a while. Is there more? Asked Tsunade. There may be, but we need to converse on that before we have an answer. Very well, you and your mother figure this out and get back to me. By the way things look, he will be staying for a while. Yes, Hokage-sama. The two Yamanakas immediately left the office, leaving Tsunade with Hinata and a still unconscious Rantu. So Hinata, you seem to be moving awfully fast. Are you sure this is the path you wish to take? Hinata eyed the unconscious Wind Master with a smile and replied without taking her eyes off him. Yes, Hokage-sama. I don't know why, but I seem to be drawn to him almost like he was someone else. Knowing the meaning of that statement, Tsunade decided to pose another question. So are you sure you aren't just using Rantu in place of him? I really don't know if I am or not, but what I do know is that when I am with him it doesn't hurt so much. If he accepts the marriage, I'm sure I will be able to live a life, and with luck, maybe a happy life like he wanted me to. Well, I guess you have made your decision. Of the four, you made the best choice, but there was no contest in that, was there? No, I suppose there wasn't. After Hinata finished, Rantu slowly started to gain consciousness. Whoa, my head feels funny, he said while grabbing his head. Rantu-kun, you're awake? Hinata stated, clearly happy. Yes, I suppose I am. He replied by stating the obvious, causing her to giggle. What's so funny, Angel? Nothing really, you're just being silly. Much too similar to the way he would act, she shook that thought from her head before it could bring down her attitude. If it is alright with you, Hokage-sama, I'd like to continue my day. With a smile and a nod from Tsunade, Hinata turned to her Wind Master. Come on, Rantu-kun, I have some things I want to show you. Okay, Angel, lead the way. Rantu bowed and excused himself from the Hokage, once again holding back the urge to call her Bachan. They stepped outside the office as Rantu unconsciously grabbed Hinata's hand. Rantu-kun, what do you think of me? She asked after feeling his hand grab hers. I think you're nice. He replied too quickly for her taste. Is that all, or is there something more? No, I think nice covers it. Well, I know of a lot of people that think I'm nice, but none of them hold my hand. Rantu looks to his hand and is surprised to see that he actually is holding her hand again. He tries to let go but finds she is not letting him. I never said you had to let go. Her smiling face caused the Wind Master to relax and close his hand back around hers. I don't know what caused you to lose your memories, but it seems like your actions go against what you say. Her smile continued as she tightened her grip and pulled him off into the village. The rest of the day went by quickly for the two as they enjoyed each other's company, though lunch and dinner. They basically talked about their missions and whatever else they could think of, but that came to a close as they approached the Hyuga Manor after dark. Hinata-chan, don't you think the other guys are going to be pissed about you spending the day with me? Yes, that would be a good assumption, but I don't care, I had a good time today with you. Well, I'm sure you won't be able to do this again, and you'll have to go out with them. The best we can do is to make up an excuse so you aren't pressured into spending equal time with the others. But I don't want to. I enjoyed my time with you so much that I should really just send the others away now. Don't be so hasty. I know you could choose the winner early, but I really don't think I'm a good choice. I feel as though I am only staying around you because of the possibility that you hold what I need to gain my memories. You should really forget about me. I could only cause you pain. No. I have only felt this way around one other person. When I let him out of my life, he never returned alive, so I won't accept it. Even if you do end up using me for your memories, I will still choose you. I will stomach going out with those guys if you promise you will accept my hand in marriage if you are the choice afterwards. Deal? Alright, Angel, if you still feel I could bring you happiness after dating for a while, I will accept. We really shouldn't arrive together to prevent some friction though. Good night, Angel. Hinata reluctantly let go of his hand as they both went their way into the manor. Konoha, January 23rd, 018 AK. The next 3 weeks was pretty much hell for Hinata, having to stand 3 lecherous dates per day that left her so drained that she wasn't even able to enjoy her last date of the day with the one she really wanted to be with. Today she couldn't take it anymore and had to stop it. Hinata stood outside her father's study and knocked, announcing her presence. You may enter, announced the current clan head. Hinata opens the door and steps though into the study. Ah, Hinata, what brings you here? I have come to a decision, father. Hayashi smiled, but not because she has chosen, but that his plan is coming to fruition. He was actually very surprised she lasted this long with his personal torture, but knew that she would lean towards the Wind Master. He also knew that as an elemental master, his blood wouldn't mix with the blood of the clan correctly to give the bloodline ability to their offspring, so he wins on both cases. So who is your choice then? The best choice is Rantu. Very well, everything will be taken care of. You will bring him back here by noon today to finalize the contract. Thank you, father. Hinata quickly turned away and left the study so she wouldn't show any trace of her happiness. No, thank you, Hinata. Now no one will stand in the way of Hanabi becoming the heir, and the council will let the caged bird seal be placed on you. Hayashi smiled evilly as he looked for the documents to finalize the deal. By 11 o'clock that day the other suitors were removed from the village at different times so no one knew who was chosen. Any belongings Rantu had were brought into his new room adjacent to Hinata's where he will stay until they get married. Of course Rantu objected to her choice, but he didn't really need much persuasion to accept. The two approached Hayashi's study and were met at the door by him. Come in, Hinata, Rantu, we have much to discuss. They entered the study and sat at the places set for them and waited for him to speak. Now here are the terms to the agreement. You will be married in less than 1 year, and Hinata must have produced a powerful heir by her 23rd birthday, or she will be stripped of her title and the caged bird seal will be placed on her, and will be officially divorced, leaving you free, Rantu. Any questions? Good. Obviously not leaving any time to object, he pulled out the scroll for the contract. Now sign on each line with your blood binding you to the terms of the contract. Until the contract expires, by either death of one, or the time runs out, either of you can marry since any other contract will reject your blood. They both knew the deal seemed a little messed up, but who were they to argue? This was the only way to get married in the family. Hinata quickly pricked her finger with a kunai and signed her name and passed it to Rantu, who pricked his finger and went to write his name. But all that was written was a small spiral instead, slightly irritating Hayashi. What's the deal? You can't even write your own name? No, that isn't it. I have no memory of myself, so I just wrote the first symbol I could think of. Besides, the contract really only needs our blood to be active. Hayashi gave in knowing he was right and placed the scroll in his desk drawer. Now I suggest you two spend a great deal of time together, but it would be frowned upon if you were pregnant before your wedding, so try to keep it proper. The two were very flustered at the freedom they were actually given and quickly left the room to salvage what they could of the remainder of the day before they died of poor blood circulation from all of it, rushing to their faces. What if Naruto changes after Sasuke retrieval Naruhina? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.